Insider Podcast live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 59. Today is day 3 here from Radio Row, and it's a big day. It's a lot busier today. You can tell it's a lot busier today just from walking in the door. There's a lot more people walking around. We are counting down to the Super Bowl here in New Orleans. First time in 12 years, and we've got a great lineup for you today as well. Former Saints punter, current New York Jets punter, Thomas Morstead will be stopping by shortly here the next 10-15 minutes. After that, we will have General Lon Anderson from the United States Marine Corps stopping by. It is, among other things this year, it is the Marine Corps' 250th birthday, and General Anderson is going to talk to us about what the Marine Corps has planned for the Super Bowl on Sunday, and he is a local, so we may ask him for a pick in the game and what he thinks of the Saints coaching search, too. So that's coming up. Also, Jeff Duncan for the first time this week, hoping to get him on the show, and possibly some other guests as they walk through Radio Row here today as well. It's been a good week so far. We talked about media night Monday night. Last night was the media party here at the Super Bowl. It was a great time. Lots of live music, food, drinks down at Mardi Gras World right here next to the convention center on the river. So if the podcast and radio shows you watch today are just a little bit slower, it's because that media person was out a little too late at the media party last night. I had to cut myself off and come back so we could get here this morning and get going for you. And again, Thomas Morstead kicking off the show here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. I do want to let you know that our coverage here is brought to you by Ochsner Health. They are the official medical provider of the New Orleans Super Bowl host committee. So our thanks to them, our thanks to you for stopping by. And we're going to have plenty of fun today here from Radio Row. So just to kind of recap what we did in previous shows on Monday, had a lot of our Saints Insider guys. We had Matthew Paris, Rod Walker stop by. Jim Derry was on the show. And then yesterday we had Luke Johnson stop in along with Brooks Kubina, former Advocate writer who now is the Eagles beat writer for The Athletic. He was here as well. And then later in the show, we had Blake Grupe, Saints kicker, and told us some fun stories. First of all, how he's handling the Saints coaching search, and also a fun story about a watch that he was gifted, a Rolex, while the Saints were in training camp out in Irvine. It was a lot of fun. So we had plenty to talk about with Blake, and you can go back and listen to that conversation. Look for the Day 2 Radio Row live stream on the saintsatnola.com YouTube channel. But don't do that yet, because we do have Thomas Morstead coming up, and plenty more fun to come today. So again, we'll be live probably for the next 2.5 hours or so, going straight up to about the 12 o'clock hour with Thomas Morstead, with Jeff Duncan, and possibly quite a few other guests as well. Rod Walker might stop back by as well. So we're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, Ochsner, and we will get rolling right after this.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chinsi Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, of how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Radio Row live from Super Bowl 59 here at the New Orleans Convention Center. I'm Zach Ewing. You're watching the Saints Insider Live. Waiting Thomas minutes here for us, and going to talk to him not only about his career and his time with the Saints. Of course, it's the 15-year anniversary of the ambush onside kick that he executed at Super Bowl 44, leading to the Saints' victory over the Colts, but also his fundraising efforts to battle ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, which his good friend Steve Gleason, of course, has been battling now for quite a few years. And Thomas raised over $100,000 this year for what he's calling his Punt for ALS campaign, which is just kind of funny because it's a little bit of a poke at Steve Gleason, who started his ALS fundraising efforts, several years ago with the slogan "Never punt," as in never give up. And so Morstead, a punter, punt for ALS. A little bit of a poke. So we'll talk to Thomas about that and just how much he loves Steve and raising money for him and how that all happened. So going to be a good time talking with Thomas Morstead. Jeff Duncan will be along later, and also going to use today to look back at some historical New Orleans Super Bowls, if and when we have time, kind of looking back all the way to 1970 and Super Bowl IV at Tulane Stadium. That was the first one in New Orleans. And then they came fast and furious. Super Bowl VI, Super Bowl IX, both also at Tulane Stadium. And then Super Bowl XII, which was in 1978. That was the first one at the Superdome. And this will be the 8th Super Bowl at the Superdome. That is a record for one stadium. It's a record that may never be beaten. If you think about how quickly new stadiums go up and how much the NFL is rotating the Super Bowl around to different sites nowadays. It's been 12 years since the Superdome's had one. Who knows what the state of the Superdome will be for the next one? That's going to be one of the storylines we'll talk about as this week wraps up. But hopefully this is not the last one. I don't think it will be. Certainly won't be the last one in New Orleans, but we'll have to see what the future of the Superdome is. It just had renovations this year, so I think it's set for years to come. But again, the 8th one coming up Sunday at 5:30 when the Eagles take on the Chiefs. That first one, by the way, was also the Kansas City Chiefs. They faced the Minnesota Vikings, Super Bowl IV, and they were 13.5-point underdogs, is what Google tells me, to the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, the famous upset was the year before when the New York Jets and Joe Namath beat the Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl III. They were 16-point underdogs. But it didn't get the AFL a whole lot of respect. And the Chiefs were the champions of the AFL the next year, the 1969 season, and came here into New Orleans as just about as big of underdogs as the Jets. Now, it's not as famous. They didn't have Joe Namath sitting by the pool guaranteeing victories or anything like that. But the Chiefs also beat up on the Vikings 23-7. All right, we got Thomas Morstead here, and we're just going to bring him right in. No need for a break. Thomas, Zach Ewing, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it. So first and foremost, 15 years since ambush. Does it seem like it's that long or longer than that? I mean, how does that work in your memory?
In certain ways I can remember it like it was yesterday, but it does feel like a lifetime ago in some other ways. I mean, I was a young, dumb, single guy, and now I've got 5 kids, and so lots changed.
No kids had ever done pull-ups on your arms at that point. I take it.
No. I mean, definitely dad's strength has tapped in as I've gotten older, so that's a good thing.
I assume this is a little bit different. The last time the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, you were a Saints player still. You guys were still obviously highly competitive and probably disappointed not to be in the game. Does this one feel different coming back to New Orleans now, 12 years later?
I mean, I don't know how to answer that because I have never stopped living here, and I've never gone to a Super Bowl other than the one I played in. So
okay,
I really partaken. Other than I went up to the Minnesota one after the Minnesota Miracle game because all the stuff that happened with that for Radio Row, but I haven't really done all the Super Bowl experience stuff ever. So I don't know any different.
All right. So obviously New Orleans is still home, but while we're on the topic of that Minneapolis Miracle and all the money that was raised for charity as a result of that game, you've been busy for your friend Steve Gleason raising money for ALS with $101,000. Is that the last count?
Yep.
How did that get started for this particular fundraising drive, and did it even exceed expectations?
I would say we didn't exceed any expectations. I thought we would do more. I thought we were gonna, when you win, people are more generous than when you lose, and we didn't have the season we hoped for up in New York. Doesn't mean I'm disappointed. It's just the way the season went. Disappointed how our season went. I'm talking about with the fundraising efforts. And it started because I called Blair at Team Gleason and just said, "Hey, I want to do something for Steve." And so we met for dinner and hashed out ideas, and it turned into what we did. So it was just more in an effort to, Steve's meant a lot to me and so many other people, and he's encouraged and given perspective and showed all these things that help all these other people. And I just wanted to do something personally for him to, encourage him. And, his life is unimaginably difficult. And I was like, man, he probably needs more encouragement than anybody. So I don't know. I wanted to do something for him. I wanted him to feel loved and to know that what he's doing continues to matter. And if it's encouraging me through the bumps in my life, which are, first world problem bumps of either losing a job or something like that, then I know they're helping so many other people around the world. And I just wanted to do something to say thank you.
You mentioned how difficult Steve's life is, and we'll have Jeff Duncan on later, who wrote the book with Steve this year about, detailing some of that. But one of the amazing things about Steve, and I don't know him well, but is how positive he remains through all of those trials.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decision. It's not a feeling, right? I think it's kind of like when you say you love somebody. A lot of people think that that's like how you feel about somebody. It's a decision. He wakes up and decides to keep going, decides to keep living.
Speaking of Jeff Duncan,
he's just, I think for me, if I'm being honest about, I don't know that I would have handled things the way that Steve has handled them. In fact, I think there's a part of me that knows I probably wouldn't have handled it. And doesn't mean he doesn't have hard days and tough days and want to scream and want to quit. But he hasn't quit. And I don't know. I just think he's a great light for the world. And I want to, I think anybody that can do anything to encourage him to keep going. It's like if you put $1 into this charity, 50 cents of work gets done, and $1 into this charity and 99 cents of work gets done, you should put it in the 99 cent. I feel like the investment that you can put into Steve, into kind of nourishing him and encouraging him and loving him and what Team Gleason's doing it's hard to quantify the amazingness of what they're doing. And I feel like, if anybody needs encouragement and support, it's him. And so I just wanted to do that.
I have to ask, and Jeff Duncan is here, who wrote the book with Steve this year. Yeah, I didn't even realize he came in, so feel free to jump in, Jeff. Steve Gleason's first huge highlight, and really the highlight of his career with the Saints, was the block punt, the rebirth in 2006. And so his slogan when he first started the battle against ALS was "Never punt." Well, this was "Punt for ALS." Yep. So it's sort of the cycle of how that goes, and I don't know if that's just you guys kind of poking at each other as friends or how that happened, but it's all very entwined.
Well, that's definitely what was intended, was to poke back at him, because I didn't like his "Never punt" shirt, and and I'd also kick back on his first big highlight for the Saints. I mean, Steve blocked like a ton of kicks for the Saints. That one just happened to be on the biggest stage in probably the biggest game in the team's history, and the most emotionally charged game probably in team history, even more than NFC Championship or Super Bowl. And so, yeah, I mean, he's just he's an amazing guy, and yeah, so I'm just glad to be friends with him and supporting him.
Yeah, I think you always say, you told me, and it's stuck with me forever, he's a daily dose of perspective, an inspiration. And I think about that. I actually brought that phrase up last night. I was talking to Roger Goodell about him, and he was talking about how inspiring Steve and Michelle both are to him and his family. But a question I've got for you, Thomas, and we met a year ago or so. I worked on a column with you, and a lot of it was about you all still choosing to live in New Orleans. A lot of players, transient lifestyles, you move on to different places in your career. What made you all decide to put down roots here and stay here?
Well, we had all of our kids here. We've made friends with parents of other kids that our kids hang with, neighbors that we became close with. A lot of kind of going through firsts, right? You bond with people when you go through something for the first time. You go off to college, you make buddies with college buddies, and they become lifelong friends. Same thing when you have kids. And this place just grew on us. I mean, I don't know that I was thinking that far in advance of like where I'm going to live full time. I just was like, so I don't know that I was not thinking I wouldn't live here, but it wasn't the plan. Just kind of this place just grew on us. And, it's not about the team. It's not about the organization. It's about the people that we've become friends with here. And, you can go live in 100 different areas of the country, and there's some little differences here and there, but a lot of places are kind of all the same. There's no place like this place, and so it just kind of grew on us, and I don't know, we just love being here.
Well, it's funny, and I wrote this in that column. A lot of people don't know this, I don't think. 2009 NFL draft. There's 2 players left in the entire NFL from that draft. Matthew Stafford still playing, and Thomas Morstead. That's pretty amazing. I mean,
it is amazing. I actually got a picture with Matt after our game this year up in Jersey. And I was like, man, we're the last 2 guys. He's like, I know. So we got a picture together. It's kind of cool.
Are you proud of that? I mean, that you've forged this career?
I'm proud of what I've done. Sure I am. I'm not, the goal of being the last guy in my draft, and it's not like something I was thinking about. But yeah, I'm certainly proud of what I've accomplished. And I'd say I'm more proud of what I've done in the last 4 years than anything, just because it's been harder than, it's all hard work, but I had a pretty smooth ride being here for so long, and things were, it's just been a lot harder. It's been a lot harder on the other side, seeing the other side of the business and trying to like get some stability again, which I've kind of found up in Jersey with the Jets. And so just really, it's just, when things are more difficult, they mean more. And I had to sacrifice a lot more than I ever maybe even thought about that I'd have to, as far as time away from people that I don't want to be away from, and what it took to get back in. So, I'm just, I'm certainly grateful to still be playing, and I'm getting all these awesome experiences with my kids that they're going to remember.
Yeah.
And they get to see dad kind of, get fired and how you're going to respond type of thing. And so it's been cool.
Are you at the stage in your career now where it's a year-to-year thing? I mean,
I've been there for a long time, but not year to year of like me deciding, I think I'm done like that. That's not, well, when I say I think I'm done, I think I'll retire now. Like, I think I'm good. Like, guys that love it and that play this long, they don't want to retire. Right. Drew didn't want to retire. Drew would have kept playing if he could. And, it's not about some of the things that people think it's about. Oh, your legacy, don't ruin that. Don't go to another team. It's not about that. Oh, you got plenty of money, or whatever the things that people think are the things that drive people. I'm like, that's why you don't understand. It's about other things. It's about experiences. It's about the relationships in the locker room. Being an older guy that has a family, I can't tell you how many young guys over the past 8 or 9 years, they come over, and it's not, in front of people, but they ask you, they want to know, they want to have what you have. They want to have a family. You know, this NFL lifestyle, you hear about people out, and there's just the cameras and the fame and all this BS. That's, most players want to have something that is going to last. They want to have a family. They want to have something that is real. And I think when young players come over and they want to know, hey, how'd you get here? Or, hey, you started making a little bit of money. How are you investing it? I've got kids now. And, you know, most guys are like that. You know, it's stuff. I think there's a misconception about most guys in the locker room are just overachievers that have overcome some set of odds that are really stacked against them, and they're grateful for it. You know, it doesn't mean there's not knuckleheads. We all have to grow up in different ways, but I don't even know where I'm going with this, but I just, there's so many cool things about playing that don't have to do with what people think motivates you. And it's even people that work on teams that tell you, hey, you don't need to do this anymore. You've established your legacy. I'm like, I don't give a shit about my legacy to this person that I don't know. What I care about is the legacy I leave my kids. And I have an opportunity to show them how to get back up, right? That was a motivating thing for me to kind of get back in and reestablish. So, you know, it's just not about what people think it may have been about.
Yeah. Well, we know Thomas has another interview he's got to get to, but we appreciate you stopping by and that incredible perspective. Support Team Gleason, and we appreciate all you do for that as well.
Appreciate it. And I'd like to put it on the record that, Jeff, I've never been a big reader, and I do not. My wife has joked with me that the first book that I finished to completion, cover to cover, in the last 15 years was
there
the
weren't
book you
even
just
any
did with
pictures,
Steve.
man. Yeah,
I know, no pictures. I couldn't put it down, especially the back 50 to 80%.
Mm-hmm.
There's some real stuff in there, and it is hard to read, but I couldn't put it down, and it really highlighted the realities that Steve and Michelle have had to go through. Man, I would encourage everybody. This isn't a plug for raising money for anything. I'm saying for your life. Go read that book.
Yeah, a lot
Go
of
read
life,
that book.
A lot of life lessons
So,
in it. Yeah,
that's probably that's got to be the coolest thing you've done. I mean,
by far,
unbelievable.
nothing even close.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
again, Thomas. It's Thomas Morstead, New York Jets punter, former Saints punter, and advocate for Team Gleason. He's going to get out of here. He's got another interview. But we are live here on Radio Row with the Saints Insider. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chinsi Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, of how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Radio Row Live here at Super Bowl 59. I'm Zach Ewing. This is the Saints Insider Podcast. Our thanks to Thomas Morstead for stopping by and talking a little bit of everything, a little bit of his career currently, a little bit of the ambush onside kick play in Super Bowl 44, and then a lot about Steve Gleason and his efforts to help his buddy in his battle against ALS. Didn't get a chance to say this. Thomas had to run, but if you're interested in supporting Team Gleason, it's teamgleason.org. And we'll get Jeff to talk about his book too when he comes back. But the book is A Life Impossible. You can check that out at your local bookstore or library as well. So yeah, I can't encourage everybody enough. It's a great cause. It's something that a lot of people struggle with, and look, let's fight it. So teamgleason.org. And check out Jeff's book. It's really written by Steve Gleason. Jeff kind of edited and ghost wrote it and those sorts of things and was an advisor, but it's written by Steve. So check that out. It's called A Life Impossible. Great book, as Thomas said. Great read. Can't put it down. And so we appreciate Thomas just stopping by. A little bit later, we're going to get General Lon Anderson from the United States Marine Corps. He's going to stop by and tell us some of the Marine Corps' efforts here to celebrate their 250th anniversary at Super Bowl 59 on Sunday. And we'll keep rolling from there. We got Rod Walker here. Rod's making his daily Radio Row appearance. Rod, what's going on?
Not much, man. Just getting through the week.
Did you struggle to get up this morning after that media party last night?
No, I was fine getting up.
Yeah, I had to check out about an hour early because I was like, you know what? I need to go have a bottle of water and get to bed.
Yeah, and I stayed to the very end.
But you're a stronger man than me. Yeah. I don't know how much you heard of that conversation with Thomas Morstead about Steve Gleason. Okay, so but I think a pretty inspiring conversation. And then we're going to get another inspiring conversation. I think General Lon Anderson of the United States Marine Corps here in about 15 minutes. But yeah, we're rolling through Super Bowl week. Before Thomas came on, I was talking about the first Super Bowl in New Orleans, and it's pretty amazing to think about. It was the Chiefs' first Super Bowl victory. Of course, they were in Super Bowl I and lost it to the Packers, but it was kind of, the Jets had beaten the Colts in Super Bowl III the year before, and that's the famous one. But the Chiefs' victory in Super Bowl IV almost kind of cemented this fact that these two leagues were on equal footing, the NFL and AFL, and it really, I think, sped along the merger later that year and kind of got the NFL to where it is today.
Yeah, well, before my time, but barely. But,
yeah, before my time too, but
No, I mean that was kind of a big turning point for the league, I would say. I mean, you mentioned the Jets one, obviously the Joe Namath, the one that he's famous for. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of when the league really kind of starting. That kind of set the groundwork for where we are right now.
Yeah, and then of course it also started the history of the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and I've just heard enough comments either from people at the media party last night or just walking around or whatever. It's different here, man. And I know we're biased and we live here and all of those things, but like it feels like a Super Bowl here, and you can speak to that better than I can because you've been to Super Bowls in other locations.
Yeah, I was actually talking to some people who weren't from here, and I mean, nobody does it quite like New Orleans does, man. And I mean, the party was, and the only party I went to was one in Atlanta, but this party was just kind of on a different level. I felt like just all the different rooms, all the stuff they were giving away. I mean, it was just pretty incredible. All the entertainment they had. It was like a really good glimpse of New Orleans culture. And obviously, when we talk about the Super Bowls here, everybody always talks about just the way the city is set up, where you can get to New Orleans, get to the hotel, and you don't have to ever get in your car again. You can just walk where you need to go. And I think that's what makes it so special. I mean, the Superdome's right there. Everything's just right there. And it's not like going to Houston and having to drive from one side of town to the other. It takes 45 minutes. And it's just different, man. And, I know we're a little biased. We always say, yeah, New Orleans should have the Super Bowl every year, but it should definitely probably have it every 4 years at least, But let's just do New Orleans, Vegas, Miami, and LA, maybe. I don't know.
And maybe throw in Arizona, which has had a lot of them. But yeah, to me, it's every 4 or 5 years. And I know you're talking about this with Matt Paris yesterday. Washington's getting a new stadium, and new stadiums, at least in either domes or in places where it doesn't get too terribly cold, they're going to get a Super Bowl. I mean, that's kind of been the NFL's MO the last couple of decades. But they got to find a way to come back a little more often than every 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long wait. And again, I wasn't even here for the last one back in 2013. So it's good to see it back here again.
Yeah, I don't think I want it every year because I don't know if I have the energy for that. But every 5 years should be all right.
Yeah. I mean, just, some of the road closures and some of the traffic issues that get a little aggravating for us locals. But, I think by the end of the week, we'll appreciate it. And then we got to get ready for Mardi Gras.
Yeah, no doubt
We go
about it.
we go from one party to the other.
That's the other thing, especially if the NFL goes to 18 games.
Right.
Mardi Gras is going to become a big conflict for having Super Bowls here. You're going to have to really pick your spots, like this year where you have Mardi Gras not until March,
right.
And you can get the Super Bowl in and over with before Mardi Gras, before Carnival really starts to gear up.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of the year, man. But Super Bowl and Mardi Gras.
Weather's great. It's fantastic. And then we begin the long slog of the off season. Speaking of which, we spent so much time on the Saints coaching search this week, and rightfully so, because that's the first domino that has to fall. The Saints have some serious decisions to make. The quarterback is obviously a big one, but even guys, like Cam Jordan has been everywhere this week. He was at the media party last night. He's going to be at the Super Bowl experience. He's going to be at NFL Honors on Thursday. I mean, he's going to be at the game. He's like one of the player hosts of this Super Bowl, and rightfully so. He's really the face of the Saints at this point in his career. But I don't know what his future is here. If he has a future here, I don't know if he knows if he has a future here with the Saints.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely the face of this Super Bowl as far as representing the Saints. And I don't know if Cam Jordan actually sleeps, man. Like he just goes nonstop.
I was thinking about that last.
And not just this way. I mean, just during the season. I mean, he's just always doing stuff. Even I just remember last season they had like a Monday night game. And Cam has this thing where he goes to a different school in the city every Tuesday. And they had a Monday night game in Kansas City, fly back in late that night. Tuesday morning, he's doing his thing, man. I mean, he's dedicated to what he's done. I mean, he doesn't just talk. I mean, he actually does what he says he's going to do. This week, they announced his scholarship where he's giving like four tuition scholarships to I think it's 4 kids in the city. So, I mean, he puts his money where his mouth is and just does all the right things.
He is amazing. And we've talked about this before, but I saw him at that party last night taking pictures and smiling a genuine smile for every single person who comes up. We saw him at the Star of Stars event that our company puts on in Baton Rouge for the high school athletes, and he's been a special guest there and just went above and beyond what he was asked to do. You did a question and answer with him on stage, and the special guests we get for that are free to leave after that. Well, Cam didn't leave. Cam stayed. He interacted with the high school athletes in the stands. Like you said, every Tuesday, which for those who don't know, that's really the only day off players are guaranteed during an NFL season. In a normal, Sunday to Sunday week, he goes and visits a school every single Tuesday.
And he's been doing that since he came into the league. So, I mean, you'd think he'd get burned out at some point, but he doesn't. Man. He just keeps going. And this is something that's going to, I mean, whenever he does hang it up, he'll continue doing that because that's just who he is. So, I mean,
yeah, I agree.
Props to him. And he's nominated for, Man of the Year. And, you look at Drew Brees is the only Saints player that's ever won it. But, I mean, between Cam, DeMario, Malcolm Jenkins, I mean, the Saints have some really good guys who have come through here and really made an impact on this community. And that says a lot about, the kind of guys they try to draft.
And I think that's important to note. And that wasn't supposed to be a campaign for Cam Jordan to win Man of the Year, but I guess it works as one. I mean, I think it would be appropriate, but I think it is important to note, like, as much as the Saints have struggled on the field this year and even going back now 3-4 years, like, they've got a locker room that I think fans can be proud of. Every team's got a few bad eggs, but I mean, for the most part, they get rid of those bad eggs, and the guys they have in there are involved in the community. You don't see a lot of negative headlines, and you sure see a lot of positive ones.
Yeah, and I know I've tweeted out about DeMario and Cam in the past, like, oh, these guys should win Man of the Year. And I don't know what guys, I'm sure guys that on the other 31 teams are doing, doing stuff in the community.
Yeah, I'm sure the Chargers and Seahawks and everybody else has somebody who does good in the community
won it,
too.
A couple of years back. So, yeah, I mean, guys are doing stuff. But I guess when you see it every day and every week, the consistency, the longevity of it, I mean, you kind of have to root for those guys in those kind of situations.
And we don't know anything, but man, tomorrow night at the NFL Honors, it sure would be, I think, appropriate if Cam Jordan won Man of the Year in his home team city.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of accolades in his career. His name will be in the Superdome, hanging in the rafters one day. But I'm sure that'll be pretty high on his list of accomplishments if he's able to win that on tomorrow night.
And if it is the end of his Saints career, what a fitting way to end it too.
Yeah, I mean he's done pretty much everything, top of the sacks chart in league history. Got going, in the second half of the season a little bit after the coaching change, and they kind of use him a little bit more. And talking to him, he definitely feel like he has more left in the tank, so he's not ready to hang it up for sure. So just a matter of he's going. I can't even imagine Cam wearing another uniform, but he's one of those guys. I mean, you think about some guys over the past that got traded at the end of their career and they look weird in another uniform.
Yeah,
Cam will be one of those guys.
Yeah,
sure.
it's going to be like I'm trying to think of the best example, like in baseball. You see some of these guys wearing a crazy uniform at the end of their career, but it is going to be weird if that's what ends up happening. All right, we are waiting on General Anderson from the United States Marine Corps. He's going to be here in just a couple of minutes, so we're going to take a break. And when we are back on Radio Row here with the Saints Insider Live, we will have General Anderson on the show.
At Ochsner Health, we believe in community, serving our neighborhood with more than just exceptional care. With educational programs that train the next generation and open new doors and possibilities for the future. More programs that teach about the benefits of healthy food and nutrition. We believe in innovation with compassion to give more hope and create more smiles. Because at the core of every community is you, Ochsner Health. Long live our community. Long live.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This episode is all about the Super Bowl 59 Ambassador Program, presented by Chevron. Ambassadors are the volunteers who are responsible for the welcoming of hundreds of thousands of fans and visitors to New Orleans during Super Bowl week. First, we'll talk to Craig Forshag, Director of Sales for the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about what makes this ambassador program unique. Then, Leah Brown, Public Affairs Manager of Chevron's Gulf of Mexico Business Unit, tells us about their partnership on this program. Let's get started.
Yep. And you said Len is your first name, correct?
Yeah, Len.
All right.
L-E.
Welcome back to the Saints Insider Podcast, live from Radio Row, joined by a couple of distinguished gentlemen now. I'm Zach Ewing, the least prestigious of the three at the table. That is General Len Anderson. This is Sergeant Major Edwin Moda. They are from the United States Marine Corps. Guys, appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Zach. Great to be here.
And among other things at the Super Bowl this week, we are celebrating the 250th anniversary, or I guess you guys use the term birthday.
It's a birthday.
Yeah, of the Marine Corps, which is technically in November, but it's a year-long celebration, baby.
It is. We have a long party to celebrate our birthday in the Marines. But yeah, it started in Philadelphia, so we might know who I'm rooting for in the Super Bowl this weekend, because the Marine Corps started right there 250 years ago.
I was going to ask your pick, and you might have spoiled it, but that's okay.
Sorry about that.
We can get more specific later. But guys, I know it's a special weekend for you and Sergeant Major. There's a lot of cool ways that you are helping the NFL celebrate the Marine Corps' birthday. Can you tell us about some of those?
Oh, absolutely. So we have Marines participating in and out in the various events. We have flyovers as well. And as you can see, we have Marines throughout the convention center, as well as Marines will be participating during the Super Bowl itself. So yes.
And then also, General, a pregame flyover and other things on game day itself.
Yeah, we do have a pregame flyover. We're very fortunate to have 2 F-35s and 4 MV-22s. So the F-35 is our 5th generation fighter. We're leading the formation with that, and then of course our tilt rotor aircraft, which is really our main assault support aircraft. Very advanced technology in both platforms, and I've just talked to a few aircrew that are here today enjoying the sights, so they're ready to go.
Now, you're a pilot as well, right?
I am a pilot. Yes, I've been very lucky.
I have always wondered on the flyovers, the timing of it when you're moving at that speed and you're trying to time it with the Star Spangled Banner and all this. It has to be really kind of a delicate dance.
Luckily, the Marines will make it look easy, but it is very delicate. There's a lot of timing. Obviously, there can be some things changing of when the anthem actually starts, but we have Marines that help us coordinate on the ground and talking to the pilots real time, airborne, and we make those adjustments and hopefully hit the target on time. That's the goal of the Marine Corps.
All right, Sergeant Major, the game on Sunday. What are your thoughts? Are you with the general here in rooting for Philadelphia?
That's a sore subject. So I'm a huge Giant fan, right? But I love Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to root for Philadelphia.
It's number 26 above the rivalry. Then we're taking Saquon over the rivalry.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great football player, and I think he's gonna do very, very well.
I think that is the sentiment most people have. You know, Chiefs have been here, done that. We're a little tired of them.
Yes, I agree. Gotta go for Philadelphia. But I would like to say, 40 years after the Marine Corps formed, we came here to New Orleans. So 210 years the Marines have been in New Orleans. We've never left. This is a Navy and Marine Corps town, and what a great place to celebrate the 250th to kick off our celebration.
And as I understand it, you all are in charge of the Marine Corps reserves. Is that right in Algiers?
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks for asking. So it's Marine Corps Reserve and Marine Forces South. So the Marine Corps Reserve is across the entire nation, almost in every state. For those that want to serve either initially in the Marine Corps or after they've left active duty to go home, find a way to continue to serve their nation, they can do that in the reserves. I've done that myself for the last 18 years. And then, of course, on the Marine Forces Reserve side, the Marine Forces South side, we work for U.S. Southern Command and everything in Central, South America, and the Caribbean.
What is the calendar like for a Marine Corps Reserve? What is the commitment for someone who signs up for that?
You know, it can vary, but you know, interestingly enough, for reserves, you can serve 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks out of the year. And what that 2 weeks out of the year is referred to as our annual training. That's where we kind of brush up on all our skills, whether or not it's rifle, pistol, physical fitness, those kind of things. But it really is a monthly commitment. Now, there's certainly opportunities to do more than that. We have Marines reserves deployed all across the globe, and we will continue to do that. But just to stay in and stay associated with the Marine Corps, continue to wear this great uniform, costs you a weekend a month.
It's not too bad.
It's great. There's great benefits to it. You still have GI Bill, insurance, all the things. I think that you know, young men and women that are you know, looking for a challenge would love to be a part of.
How do weekends like the Super Bowl further the cause of the Marine Corps? It's obviously a high exposure moment and a time to be proud of our armed forces and just kind of show them off. But what does it do for the Marine Corps?
Well, more importantly is exposure, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that you know, as Marine, we serve this great nation of our and the Constitution of the United States, and just showing the American people the good human being we have in our service, right? So.
Yeah.
And Zach, I think, you know, along with the NFL, the Marine Corps is a team, and we, while our Marines deployed forward, are in a Super Bowl every day. But for the Marine Corps, joining this team, wearing the same uniform, we have that camaraderie, the teamwork, and it's really comparable to the NFL teams that you'll see match up against each other in the arena.
And I think you see that level of respect from those guys that you all have for other armed services and things like that. There's definitely a connection there.
There's absolutely a connection. There's certainly a little bit of competition between the other services, but that keeps us sharp. That's what gets us, you know, keeps us moving forward. But yes, there is an absolute mutual respect amongst that. I think because we've all experienced some of the you know, some of the challenges that you see not only in the military but in a very high functioning team like an NFL football team.
Speaking of high functioning teams, what's your opinion of the Saints coaching search?
Oh, I
just opened up a sore subject.
You did it. That's a touchy subject. I'm, you know what? I'm hoping for the best for the Saints. I really wanted the Saints to be here this weekend. It would have been just a perfect scenario for us to celebrate the Marine Corps 250. I hope we find the best choice we can to lead the Saints to the Super Bowl.
You have any opinion, Sergeant Major?
You know, you always root for the home team, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Saints organization is a phenomenal
organization, and I hope that they can get back over here in the next, few years, sooner than later.
Man, I'll tell you, if the Saints ever make a Super Bowl in New Orleans, that will be a week to remember.
Absolutely.
There will be nothing ever like it. Well, guys, as far as competition goes, I'm Team Marine Corps. My daddy was a Marine, so I'm the greatest of respect and thanks for your service, and thank you guys for stopping by with us.
Thank you, Zach. Really great to be here. Appreciate it.
All right, we are live here on Radio Row, and we're going to take a quick break. Our thanks to General Len Anderson and Sergeant Major Edwin Moda from the United States Marine Corps. Sincere thanks to them.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chincy Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, of how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Welcome back to Radio Row Live. I'm Zach Ewing here on the Saints Insider Podcast, live from Super Bowl 59. Our thanks to General Len Anderson and Sergeant Major Edwin Moda for stopping by the booth, and also, of course, for their service to our country. Looking forward to some of the cool events, the flyovers, and I think there's also some in-game events, some halftime things and pregame things going on to celebrate the Marine Corps' 250th birthday this year. So yeah, it's going to be cool. 1775 to 2025. So predating even our country, 1775, United States Marine Corps. So pretty cool from them. We've also got lots of people walking around. We got Jaden Daniels walking around back there. I'm going to see, maybe we can get him. He's on Sirius XM radio right now, but we're going to see if we can't get Jaden to stop on by when he's done. Might be difficult, but we'll try. Jeff Duncan's walking around. You guys want to hear from Jeff Duncan or Jaden Daniels? I know my answer. Maybe we'll get them both on at the same time. But we're going to keep rolling here. We've also got some other guests we're going to try to get. And then a big day tomorrow here on Radio Row. We're going to start things out with a gentleman named Hoosh Doucette, who is a world-class flag football player. For those who may not be aware, flag football is coming to the Olympics when they return to the U.S. in L.A. in 2028, and Hoosh Doucette hopes to be on the U.S. team. So we're going to talk to him about flag football, differences between that and the NFL. He's made, you can Google Hoosh, he's made some pretty proud comments, let's say, about how NFL players would do in flag football and where he thinks they would rank up against him. So we'll talk to Hoosh. That should be interesting. And then also Deuce McAllister and Josh Jacobs, Packers running back, and Drew Brees coming in at 12:30 tomorrow. So that's the big one. Drew Brees should be on the show at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. So we're going to be going a little bit longer tomorrow. May come on the air right at 9 o'clock. Might be a few minutes after that. Again, schedule's going to be a little bit hazy as we go through the week based on who we can get to come in. But I did want to kind of continue our look through historic New Orleans Super Bowls. We had talked about Super Bowl IV and the Chiefs. I mean, it was an upset. The betting line was 13.5. The Chiefs controlled the game, man. And if you've ever seen NFL films, you know Hank Stram, who later coached the Saints and had his 65 toss power trap, and they were matriculating the ball down the field and all that stuff. The Chiefs dominated that game. It was 23-7. The game was 16-0 at halftime. Never really got a threat from the Vikings, who ended up losing 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. That was the first one. And so the Kansas City Chiefs, who are here this week seeking to become the first team to three-peat in the Super Bowl, they got their Super Bowl victories started right here in New Orleans. They of course lost Super Bowl I to the Packers, but they got their first win in Super Bowl IV right here at the Sugar Bowl Stadium at Tulane in 1970, January of 1970. Super Bowl VI 2 years later, back in New Orleans, back at the Sugar Bowl. That was Tom Landry and the Dallas Cowboys, 24-3 over the Miami Dolphins. I always got confused as a kid because you hear about the 1972 Miami Dolphins and their perfect season. Well, they actually lost their first game of 1972, which was the Super Bowl for the 1971 season, was played on January 16th of 72. They lost 24-3 to the Dallas Cowboys. So that was the last game the Dolphins lost for, more than a year and a half, until the 73 regular season. So, but it was Roger Staubach and the Dallas Cowboys winning Super Bowl VI, 24-3. Trying to think of the Cowboys running back, Dwayne Thomas, who had a great game that day, probably could have been the MVP. Roger Staubach himself, who was named the MVP after he just threw for like 120 some odd yards, he said, I think Dwayne would have been the MVP if he had talked to the press. So Dwayne Thomas refused to talk to the media all week. Of course, players can't do now. They got to at least sit up there like Marshawn Lynch and say that they're there to not be fined. But most of them will talk to the press now. But Dwayne Thomas didn't. He had a great game, but did not win the MVP in that game. So that was the second Super Bowl in New Orleans. That was Cowboys 24, Dolphins 3. 3 years later, Super Bowl comes back here. That one was supposed to be the first one at the Superdome. But in true New Orleans fashion, the construction had run behind. The Superdome was not ready, and they had one more game at Tulane Stadium. And so Super Bowl IX was the last professional football game played at the Sugar Bowl Stadium at Tulane, and that was the Steelers and Vikings. So the Vikings came back to New Orleans, scored 7 points in their first Super Bowl here, only got 6 in the second one. 16-6, the Steelers won that game, absolutely dominated the Vikings defensively. They actually scored the only points of the first half on a safety. Vikings quarterback Fran Tarkenton fumbled the ball, chased it back into the end zone. I think it ended up getting knocked back out of the end zone for a safety. So it's 2-0 at halftime. And then Franco Harris went to work in the second half. Franco Harris, I think, had 1 touchdown. He had like 37 carries in the game. The Steelers had 57 carries, which is still a record today. 57 rushing attempts in that game. So they really just kind of ground out the Vikings in that one in a 16-6 victory. So I guess if you look back at this, the first 3 Super Bowls in New Orleans, and we'll keep going through, they were all kind of duds. And frankly, that's like the theme of the first 6 or 7, which we can talk about. But you had a 23-7 game, a 24-3 game, and a 16-6 game were the 3 Super Bowls over at Tulane Stadium. So, I don't know, but they kept coming back here. I guess the players were having a good time, and the media was having a good time, and the league was having a good time. So they kept coming back here, and we're grateful for that. They are here for Super Bowl 59. We're here for Super Bowl 59. We're live on Radio Row. This is the Saints Insider Live. We are going to take another break, and we're going to be back. I'm going to see if I can track down Jeff Duncan and get his thoughts. He's making the rounds and talking to everybody, Mr. Popular, but we'll see if he can come talk to us here, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes.
In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking all things Superdome. First, we'll chat with Steve Farrago, NFL Director of Event Operation, about how he and his team start work way ahead of time to make sure the Dome is game day ready on Super Bowl Sunday. Then, Evan Holmes, the GM of the Superdome, talks dome renovations and takes me on the coolest escalator ride of my life. So, stay tuned in.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Ochsner Health, we believe in community, serving our neighborhood with more than just exceptional care. With educational programs that train the next generation and open new doors and possibilities for the future. More programs that teach about the benefits of healthy food and nutrition. We believe in innovation with compassion to give more hope and create more smiles. Because at the core of every community is you. Ochsner Health. Long live our community. Long live you.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This episode is all about the Super Bowl 59 Ambassador Program, presented by Chevron. Ambassadors are the volunteers who are responsible for the welcoming of hundreds of thousands of fans and visitors to New Orleans during Super Bowl week. First, we'll talk to Craig Forshag, Director of Sales for the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about what makes this ambassador program unique. Then, Leah Brown, Public Affairs Manager of Chevron's Gulf of Mexico Business Unit, tells us about their partnership on this program. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Saints Insider Live here from Radio Row. Zach Ewing with you. Waiting on a couple of guests. I guess we may be getting Curtis Johnson, native New Orleanian and coach of the Houston Roughnecks of the United Football League. He may be stopping by here in just a minute. He was talking to Rod Walker, and we may get him on after he speaks with ESPN. So waiting on him. We've also got, I think, the Ochsner Health robot coming on. Where they have a little robot roaming around and letting kids at the Children's Hospital in New Orleans talk to various athletes and stuff. So we may be getting a pretty cool interview here in a minute, waiting on that. But yeah, then CJ Curtis Johnson, New Orleans native, former Tulane head coach, also coach on the Saints staff that won the Super Bowl in 2009. He's been all over the place, recruited Marshall Faulk to San Diego State, all sorts of things to talk to CJ about. Yeah, they're going to come around here, I think. So this is the... Sure, yeah, bring them on. This is the Ochsner Health robot. We're live right now, but let's bring on... All right. Okay, I think we have Eli here from the Ochsner Children's Hospital. And we're going to have an Ochsner Health representative come around the other side here. All right. Here we are live on the Saints Insider podcast. Tell us what we have here, first of all. We've got Eli joining us via the Ochsner, I guess you call it a robot.
Yep, it's our telehealth robot.
Okay.
That we use for our pharmacy department. So we had an opportunity to bring the kids down here. They're at the hospital today. They're experiencing the Super Bowl. And our Child Life team is always looking for activities while they're in the hospital. And couldn't ask for a better opportunity than the Super Bowl.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Well, Eli, you're live on Radio Row. How are you doing today, man?
I'm good.
You're good? What's it been like kind of seeing everybody here at Super Bowl Radio Row?
Been nice and great.
Who is the coolest person you've talked to so far?
Cam Jordan.
That's a pretty good answer, man. What did Cam talk to you about?
Getting better.
Yeah. And is that I mean, that's obviously what this is all about. And part of that, I imagine, is just keeping the spirits up for these kids as they battle illness.
Absolutely. Eli's been doing a great job. He's a great driver, I can tell you that. He's just been loving the experience and the opportunities to meet NFL players like Cam Jordan and everything like that. It's just lighten this world up. So
yeah, no doubt about it.
We've been here all week. We're going to be here all the way up until the pregame, and hopefully get to meet some more players. And the kids can really enjoy this experience that they have.
Absolutely. So Eli is driving.
Yes, he's driving the robot. He's just following us in the yellow shirts, and he goes where he wants to go. He's telling us what he wants to see.
That's phenomenal. Eli, I got to tell you, I have kids, and they would not be able to do that. They would be crashing into everything. So
I like video games.
you like he likes video games. Actually, I do have one son who plays enough video games. Maybe he'd be okay. But this is pretty cool.
A robot did my surgery.
What was that, Eli?
A robot did my surgery.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, hey, we appreciate you all joining us, and of course sponsoring the Saints Insider podcast this week at Ochsner Health. What else you have going on this week as Super Bowl week marches on?
The kids are going to be doing the Super Bowl experience, doing the parade as well. We got invited that. They're going to have front row seats in front of Gallier Hall. And then we're going to do the pregame and be down there on the field and hopefully get to see them warm up. And they're going to have an experience that most people don't ever get to have.
How fast can these suckers go? Are they going to be in pregame warm-ups?
We're going to see if we can get a few of the players to race us in the 40, see what we can do.
Well, that's phenomenal. This is the Ochsner Health. I'm sorry, you said it again. It was the something robot.
Oh, this is our Omni robot.
Omni
so our
robot.
Partnership with Omni, they gave us a call for this opportunity, and we couldn't be more grateful.
All right, well, Eli, I want you to have a lot of fun, man, and thanks for joining us, and get better, okay?
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you guys for stopping by.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Yep. That was pretty cool. We'll see. We're gonna see if Eli can back out of here. Okay, he's gonna get a little bit of a this is a tight space here.
It's like parallel parking.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. Here he goes. Yeah, they're gonna get him out. It's a little bit of a tight space, but that's pretty cool. Thank you all. So Eli got to stop by. My favorite interview of the week so far. He also got to meet Cam Jordan, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Rod, you want to sit down? We're going to have Curtis Johnson on here in a minute. I was just talking about Super Bowl IX, man. That's probably your favorite one from New Orleans. Pittsburgh Steelers win it. You said you weren't old enough for that one, though. You don't remember that one.
That was a
Vikings.
No,
yeah,
I don't remember.
16-6. He would have fallen asleep anyway.
All right.
So, that one was 2-0 at halftime. I don't think that will ever happen in the Super Bowl again.
I hope not.
2-0.
It'd be good if you're playing the squares and you got 2-0. Though you'd be pretty excited about that because it's
no
a long
doubt
shot.
about that. Especially if you do the ones where you actually get you get to pick your squares and you get odds and everything, where you can probably get 100-1 on 2-0. So Curtis Johnson coming on. This guy's got an interesting football story. I mean, he's been everywhere.
Everywhere. He's the guy that kind of lured Marshall Faulk to San Diego State. I mean, and he's from here. I mean, he's from LaPlace. Where is he actually from?
Yeah, he went to St. Charles.
Yeah.
I had to look up his Wikipedia page here because I forget all the places he's
been.
I
mean, he's been parts of the country that I would.
He started his career as a coach, as the wide receivers coach in Lewiston, Idaho.
Yeah, because he went to
the University of Idaho.
Yeah.
So we'll have to ask him about that. But looking forward to hearing what CJ has to say. He's the head coach of the Houston Roughnecks. You and I were talking. It's the United Football League because the USFL and XFL merged.
Right. Head coach at Tulane for a while.
Went from the Saints to Tulane.
Bears were in there somewhere.
Bears back to the Saints. And then it was the Houston Gamblers and now the Houston Roughnecks.
Yeah.
I wonder if he can keep this all straight. Like, does he have note cards to tell him where he's been in his career?
Miami.
Miami.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because he actually had a Roughnecks cap on when I saw him. I had to look at it to see what. Yeah, I couldn't remember which team it was. I couldn't remember if it was the Gamblers or the Roughnecks.
Where you been, Jeff Duncan?
Roman, man. This is fun. It's my first time down, so thought I'd check out the scene, and it's definitely bigger than I've ever seen Radio Row. I've never seen it this big. This is crazy, but I like the setup.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal what some of these, really big media companies, national media companies have done with their sets. You're watching Sirius XM. We've mentioned this week, but they got 4 shows airing simultaneously over there.
Yeah. Well, I was on a hunt for coffee, and I accomplished my mission. So I'm now set for the rest of the day.
Properly caffeinated.
Yeah, well, I mean, we should have coffee at our – I have to get on our friends over at the New Orleans host committee. I mean, we're a coffee city. We're well known for coffee, and we have no coffee in the booth over there. So I got to talk to Mark Romig or whoever's in charge.
A coffee bar.
Got to get that taken care of.
We're gonna get CJ Curtis Johnson in here in a little bit. We've had a cool day already. We had Thomas Morstead. We had some officers, general in fact, from the United States Marine Corps, and then we had Eli and the guys from Ochsner Health. So just a phenomenal day already. We've also been talking historic New Orleans Super Bowls, and nobody at this point knows more about historic New Orleans Super Bowls than Jeff Duncan, because you have written, 15,000 words about it over the last couple of months going through. We're going to have it in our special section that comes out in Sunday's newspaper, an in-depth look back at every New Orleans Super Bowl. And, Rod and I were talking, the first few were not very good games.
No.
But there's been something memorable pretty much from every single one.
Yeah, I was talking about that this morning with someone else about the history of New Orleans Super Bowls, and really the first 8 we had were all blowouts. There was no competitive games at all. The 2 biggest blowouts in the history of the Super Bowl were both here. The 49ers, who did they dismantle? Denver Broncos, and then, of course, the Chicago Bears in 1985. That was a dismantling, too, of the New England Patriots. But the last 2 we've had have both been pretty dramatic. I hope we get to see some drama on Sunday. I think we will. I mean, what's the line on this game?
It's 1 point now. Yeah, it's gone down KC by 1.
So the odds makers are expecting this to be a close game. I'll be surprised if it's not. But let's hope we just get some, memorable moments. There have been a lot of memorable moments here. But more than anything, New Orleans has had a lot of quirky, weird stuff happen. That's kind of what happens in the city, and the Super Bowl is no different. And I think of just some of the fun, charming things of like that second Super Bowl we had here, where we had 2 live dolphins in the pool at the Fontainebleau Hotel for the week. I don't think that would fly with PETA today. That was just something that stood out to me. I couldn't believe we had 2 live dolphins in a hotel pool.
My favorite is the Super Bowl 4 halftime show. Kendrick Lamar is great, and I'm sure it's going to be phenomenal on Sunday. You cannot match the Super Bowl 4 halftime show, okay? You had the Southern Marching Band. You had Al Hurt, the famous trumpeter.
Correct.
You had Marguerite Piazza, who's an opera singer.
Opera singer.
You had a reenactment of the Battle of New Orleans, which included guys acting dead on the 30-yard line. They're just laying there like they're British soldiers or something. You had a hot air balloon that crashed. That was there was one for each team. I think it was the Vikings one that crashed. And that, of course, the team crashed too. You had Mardi Gras floats. You had a second line parade.
I know, we did it up big.
They squeezed everything into 20 minutes.
Yeah, and that was the first major halftime show. The ones in the first 3 Super Bowls before that were all just kind of typical traditional marching bands, high school and college marching bands. And of course, New Orleans, our first Super Bowl, we weren't going to stand for that. We were going to have a real show, and we put it on, man. We had all kinds of action, both good and bad, on the field. It tore the field up. That was the other thing. The Battle of New Orleans reenactment was, they had cannons and muskets firing out there, and it tore up the field.
Didn't somebody lose a finger or something?
That's the legend. And I'm starting to hear now it's not just one. Now it's multiple fingers over the years. I'm not sure how much of that is true.
50 more years, it'll be like a whole arm.
Yeah, some guy got sawed in half or something. But no, it's classic New Orleans stuff. And I will say this: the first 3 Super Bowls we had, the third one we had here was actually not supposed to. It was supposed to be in the Superdome. But it ended up not getting done. Shocking. We didn't get the Superdome built in time. So we had to have that one back at Tulane Stadium. But 3 games outside, all of them in really cold weather, not good weather.
Yeah.
So it's good that we did build the Superdome.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. I think we got Curtis Johnson here.
Yeah. Come on in here.
Here. CJ, oh, we made you go around, CJ, and now we're having you come back through. Yeah. All right. Curtis Johnson is here. He is the head coach of the Houston Roughnecks now, right?
Yes, sir.
And now it's the United Football League, the Spring Football League,
yes,
XFL, USFL combined. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for
Saints
having
Insider
me.
Podcast Live. Obviously, a New Orleans native. I had to pull up your Wikipedia page and you've been even more places than I remembered. And my question is, do you have a business card that or can you remember this by memory, all the places you've been, or how does that work?
Look, I usually have my wife around, and she tells me, "You forgot Cal. You forgot this." So I just ran into Dwayne Clemens. He played for me at Cal. Almost forgot about him. I just saw Tony Gonzalez also. So I've been around a little bit.
So you're making the rounds here at Radio Row. I kind of want to go chronologically, okay? Let's go back to St. Charles High School in Laplace.
All the way back.
Yeah, let's go all the way back, and we're going to take a flyby of CJ's career here. What do you remember from high school football days?
Look, competitive. I remember playing against John Curtis. We could never beat him. Newman, Reginelli was one of the backs. Reggie Duport was at Curtis. Man, it was just very, very competitive. Just remember the River Parishes who's who, played against Lewis Lips back in the day. Man, it was just really, really good football.
Yeah, as it is today. Now, how does a kid from New Orleans end up at the University of Idaho?
I actually had a cousin play basketball, and he talked the coach into giving me a scholarship. And the rest is history.
Did you enjoy Idaho? I mean, like is it culture shock when you get up there? How does that work?
Yeah, you know what? A little bit, but I really loved it at Idaho. Let me tell you, I loved it so much. I spent 10 years up there.
Yes, you did.
I taught in high school there, and I went into coaching in Idaho. So it was a lot of fun. The season changed. We all had snow a couple of days ago, and now all of a sudden we had it every year in Idaho all the time. But it was fun.
That was old hat to you. Yeah. Did you know you wanted to be a coach as a player? Did it just kind of happen?
Absolutely not. That was the furthest thing from my mind. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to change the world. And all of a sudden, a guy by the name of Dennis Erickson told me, hey, you come in, you're going to coach. You're going to be a heck of a coach. Him and his dad, Pinky, and Keith Gilbertson, man, it convinced me, and I loved it ever since.
And I have to imagine at that point, you never necessarily think you're going to end up back in New Orleans, but you go to San Diego State, you recruit a New Orleans running back, by the name of Marshall Faulk, just that guy, future Hall of Famer. And then a guy on the San Diego State staff, Sean Payton, was the running backs coach, eventually brings you back to coach the New Orleans Saints. Man, what a full circle moment for you that had to be.
Absolutely. Sean was always bright, very smart guy, always endearing to the game. He loved the game also, man. And just being back in those days, we were all young guys and coming up trying to coach. We had a good team, and we were so good we got fired. So we all went our separate ways for a number of years. And then all of a sudden, he had an opportunity to come back to New Orleans, and I love coming back home. So no place like home.
It had to be an easy sell on you for that job.
No, that's what Dorothy said, no place like home in The Wizard of Oz.
That's right. So you're the wide receivers coach for the Saints during their golden era. I mean, the Super Bowl era, 15 years ago now. What do you remember from that Super Bowl run and from that time?
I think the run started in 06. You know, just getting all things in line. I thought, man, going into the NFC Championship game in 06 with that team, it was like probably Sean's best coaching job. You know, as we moved on, the next year wasn't quite as what the record we wanted. Following year, the same. Then we knew we had a chance that year that we won the Super Bowl just because of the talent acquisition and how we practiced, how we played. It was just a championship type team.
It gets in your blood, coaching, right? I mean, that has to explain. Obviously, you went to Tulane for four seasons after that.
Yep.
And then, as we said, this is where I need Wikipedia, but you got the Bears, back to the Saints, and then in Houston, we had stops at SMU and Cal and Miami before the Saints. In order to continue to do that, you have to have, I would think, a strong family that is willing to follow you, and it's got to be in your blood.
Absolutely. You know, when I started, I had no kids. Now I have grandkids. You know, that's just how far I've been in this profession. It's just a great profession to be in. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves going to the game still. The family is just, and all of them following my footsteps. I got a daughter who's an AD, a son who's a personal trainer. They all love sports, and you got to love it. It's something that you got to love because what you don't see the number of hours you work. I remember working with Sean. It was 6 o'clock in the morning or 3 in the morning sometime, most of the time. You know, Sean was very, very detailed, and that has helped me throughout. And so just being detailed, I think you need that time to do those things to become a great coach and become a great team.
What has the experience been like in Houston now with these spring football leagues? I mean, did you have kind of some doubts or questions going into how it would work? And I mean, it's a different calendar. You got players with different goals. I mean, everything is just a little bit different.
Yeah, you know what? You just never know. I never knew how it would start off, just because I never coached in the spring league. I heard a lot about them. Man, when I had an opportunity to do it, I wanted to do it. And it was really, really, really fascinating. Just going out, the players are very, very disciplined. It's not like you don't have prima donnas. You don't have guys who think they own the world. These guys are ready. They're willing to work. They're ready to do anything they can to get a chance to go back to the NFL. So that's a great carrot. We're on television every week. All the games are televised. It's just a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and this upcoming season, I mean, really, once the Super Bowl's over, it's go time for you.
Yeah, March 28th. That's my first game. Friday football. We played St. Louis. Play against Anthony Beck. His team's a really good team.
All right. What kind of team do the Roughnecks have this year?
I think we're gonna be pretty good. I think we're a little bit faster. We're younger. We were pretty old last year. You know, you inherit some players from the prior year.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I think we're gonna be exciting. I like a pressure package. We're gonna bring some pressure on defense, and I think we're gonna be a really good team.
When you coach these guys, does it remind you of your college coaching days a little bit? In some ways, these are guys who are overlooked, who want to get back to the NFL or get there for the first time. I mean, is the coaching style a little different than it was in the NFL?
No, I think it's more NFL-ish.
Okay.
You know, you are developing players, because we know that each of these players there have one thing, maybe a preference that a coach didn't like them, or maybe they're one step slower, or maybe they got to work on a certain skill. And so these are the players that, man, you want those guys because they're eager to work on that one or two skills. I just talked to Daryl. I did an interview with Daryl Johnson, who's the commissioner of our league. He said there were 32 players in our league last year that's on NFL rosters, and there's a total of 53 right now that's playing in NFL. So a lot of these guys get an opportunity to work on their skill, to work on whatever they need to, and they come in and they come in and do it. They get an opportunity to play again.
Michael Lewis on. You got any good Michael Lewis stories for us?
Look, Michael Lewis is the fastest man. He is. Michael is one of the fastest guys I've ever been around. When I first got there, though, he hated me. He said, I'm the only guy that can curse you out and don't curse. So he said, I don't say a curse word, but he said, man, CJ will get you every time. But man, me and him, we had a run in the first day. I'll never forget, I told Mike I wanted Michael to do some more running or something. He wouldn't do it. He walked off the field. I said, don't worry about it. He'll be back. And ever since then, me and Mike been close ever since.
We're not going to make you do it, but I do wonder what cursing somebody out without cursing sounds like.
Well, you just don't use the words.
It's kind of like Willie Green for the Pelicans. That's what he does, yeah.
You weren't at Miami at the same time as Dwayne Johnson, but he is involved with the Houston franchise, correct?
He's involved with the league. Okay. He's one of the guys who part owners of the league. I came a little bit after the Rock, and he was a good player for us. But there's some great players I've coached at Miami. You know, Ed Reed, Reggie Wayne, Santana Moss.
Sure.
All those guys were.
Reggie Wayne up for the Hall of Fame tomorrow night. I mean, you got any Reggie Wayne stories for us?
Oh my goodness! Look, I recruited Reggie, and I don't think he wanted to come to Miami, but I actually coached him up over the phone how to run a post corner route. He ran a route and scored a touchdown in the high school game. He went over that John Ehret, and ever since then, I'm a Miami fan. I love the U.
That's all it takes, man.
Yeah,
That's all it takes. And then Ed Reed, man. You talk about another New Orleans native, just one of a kind.
Look, Ed, I recruited Ed. Ed had an uncle who I played against, Otis. And every time I'd come home, he'd say, CJ, I got one for you. I got one for you. I got one for you. And so I saw Ed Reed in one game. And he look, I want to say he got in the winning interception, ran a touchdown from a quarterback, ran a touchdown from a back, and ran a touchdown and made about 10 as a receiver and made like 10 tackles. So this kid's an athlete. Boy, he could play.
Yeah. Why were you so good at like getting guys to come play for you though? I mean,
I think two things. I think I recognize talent pretty good. I think that's a gift. And then I kind of see what they can do, and I kind of make sure they do that, and then accent on some of the other stuff that they can't.
All right. Well, we know you're making the rounds, CJ, but Curtis Johnson, former Saints assistant, former Tulane head coach, New Orleans native, now the head coach of the Houston Roughnecks. We appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right, Curtis Johnson, our latest guest here on the Saints Insider Live from Radio Row. We are pushing up on 11 o'clock. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back in just a few minutes here with more guests live from Radio Row.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chinsi Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, of how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. First, we're going to talk to Seth Jadowski. He is the head of music for the NFL. As a singer and someone who has had the honor of singing the national anthem in the Superdome, I was so excited to hear how Seth and his team put on the iconic Super Bowl halftime show. What goes into it? How do they produce it in such a unique place of the Superdome? So here you're going to find out.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. First, we're going to talk to Seth Jadowski. He is the head of music for the NFL. As a singer and someone who has had the honor of singing the national anthem in the Superdome, I was so excited to hear how Seth and his team put on the iconic Super Bowl halftime show. What goes into it? How do they produce it in such a unique place of the Superdome? So here you're going to find out. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking all things Superdome. First, we'll chat with Steve Farrago, NFL Director of Event Operation, about how he and his team start work way ahead of time to make sure the Dome is game day ready on Super Bowl Sunday. Then, Evan Holmes, the GM of the Superdome, talks Dome renovations and takes me on the coolest escalator ride of my life. So, stay tuned in. Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This episode is all about the Super Bowl 59 Ambassador Program, presented by Chevron. Ambassadors are the volunteers who are responsible for the welcoming of hundreds of thousands of fans and visitors to New Orleans during Super Bowl week. First, we'll talk to Craig Forshag, Director of Sales for the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about what makes this ambassador program unique. Then, Leah Brown, Public Affairs Manager of Chevron's Gulf of Mexico Business Unit, tells us about their partnership on this program. Let's get started.
At Ochsner Health, we believe in community, serving our neighborhood with more than just exceptional care. With educational programs that train the next generation and open new doors and possibilities for the future. More programs that teach about the benefits of healthy food and nutrition. We believe in innovation with compassion to give more hope and create more smiles. Because at the core of every community is you. Oxner Health. Long live our community. Long live you.
Welcome back to Radio Row, the Saints Insider Podcast, live from Super Bowl 59. Zach Ewing here with you. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We are brought to you this morning by Oshner Health, the official medical provider of the New Orleans Super Bowl host committee. Still kind of tracking down a couple more guests throughout the next hour or so as we're with you. And then Jim Derry will be live with his Datitude podcast starting at 1 o'clock this afternoon. We may stay on longer than noon if the guests keep rolling in. Don't know. But we're going to try to get, I think, Mark Romig, the voice of the Saints at the Superdome, the voice of the Superdome, may stop in. And we'll see if we can get Jeff back over here, too. There's all sorts of people walking around. So who knows who we may get to stop by. Appreciate Curtis Johnson stopping by, head coach of the Houston Roughnecks of the UFL. I got to say, I was not a huge fan of the spring football idea when it started, but it's kind of grown on me. Kind of like having that weekend football to turn on in the springtime and see some of those guys then make it to the NFL in the next few years. So that's going to be pretty cool. And they've now combined the two leagues. That was one problem with it too, is that it's hard to remember which team was in which league, but now they've combined the USFL and the XFL have combined into what they're calling the UFL, the United Football League. So that'll be pretty cool. And we appreciate Curtis Johnson stopping by. What a story that guy has in the world of football. So we're all counting down, of course, to Sunday's Super Bowl. Chiefs and Eagles, 5:30 p.m. Chiefs are now a 1-point favorite. I wonder if we get Jim Derry on to talk a little bit about the betting line movement. I'm going to see if Jim's upstairs. I'm going to see if he can come down too. I'm going to text him right now. Yeah, so I know Sean Payton's in the building too. I think he has basically said he's not doing anything besides the national interviews he was already slated for. So it sounds like he's probably going to head straight out of here after those are over. I think I see Mark Romig coming through. See if we can get him to step on. Yeah, he's gonna be one more minute. So we're gonna keep looking through some historical New Orleans Super Bowls. Apologize, it's a little bit fluid as we go through here from Radio Row. But the here we go. Got Mark on. How are you this morning, Mark?
I'm good. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, we're halfway through, man. I don't know if thank you. Got a New Orleans host committee pin here. I don't know if I'm like excited that it's almost over or if I'm dreading the end of it, because it's a lot of work, and I know it's the same way for you guys. It goes so fast.
I could do this for a long time. This is great. This is such a great event, not only for New Orleans but for Louisiana, and it's just bringing so much joy to so many people because of the impact that it's having, which is tremendous.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I know it's a labor of love for you guys, and I suppose it's natural to think, but you are stepping down from your post after this at New Orleans and Company. So this is really going to be the last time you're in this role for it. Do you find yourself soaking in a little more?
Yeah, it's somewhat sentimental. I've been involved in several Super Bowls here. The last one, my dad and I actually co-chaired the Media, PR, and Branding Committee, and I'm chairing it this time with Rob Hatley from the Entergy. But I'm not going far. I'm going to become senior advisor at New Orleans and Company April the 1st. And I'll still look for opportunities to volunteer like I'm doing here for the Super Bowl. I'm a native. I love this city, and it'll always be my heart.
Yeah, it's been 12 years. That's too long, right? Like we got to
long. Yeah, we need to get into a better rotation. And again, this is our 11th time. We're tied with Miami. If you were at the media party last night, you heard over and over and over again from the members of the media that attended it at Mardi Gras World how they love to come to New Orleans and why that party was sort of emblematic of what they love about our city.
Great,
the music, the food. It was easy to get around, and it was easy to get a drink and get good food and see good people and listen to good music. And as you know, with 26,000 hotel rooms within 1.5 miles of the Caesars Superdome, we are a city that is proving each and every day why we're built to host.
Yeah, and you do hear it, not just at the party last night, but throughout the week. Like it feels different here. It is different here. I mean, this feels like a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it does. And today the activity is even greater inside the media center. We're in Radio Row, where stations from all over the world actually are broadcasting. And then we look around and we're seeing all sorts of great people walking around. I see Cam Jordan over there.
Yeah.
I saw Demario Davis earlier. Thomas Morstead was here. Debo Samuels was here earlier. It's just one of those days where you can just celebrity watch and just think about how great it is that they're all here in New Orleans.
It's a lot of fun, and I imagine it's quite a bit bigger than it was even 12 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, this room is bigger for sure. Every table's taken. The footprint of this whole event, it's like a campus has grown around New Orleans. And that's, again, one of the reasons why I think it keeps coming back to the city, because it's compact, but it's easy to get around.
Now, as most fans know who are watching, you are the voice of the Superdome, the voice of the Saints. And that is not changing with your changing role.
No, not at all.
You got to keep doing that.
So, as you know, my dad did this for 44 years, 446 consecutive games. And he finished at preseason of 2013. So this was my 12th season. I've mapped it out. If I can come close to where Dad was, I'll be 102 years old when I'm finished. You think I could make that? Think I could go that far?
I'm not going to doubt you, Mark. You can do it, man.
No, Dad.
We might need to wheel you in
Dad
there.
Dad was the GOAT as it relates to stadium announcing. He never missed a game, and he loved that role as stadium announcer. He did other things, as you know, but that was his baby.
I know you've been asked this before, but did you always want to follow in Dad's footsteps?
No, I had no idea. I did not say I want to be the announcer after Dad, because if that's the case, I have 4 other brothers and sisters. I think we all would say that we'd like to have done that. What happened is that Dad was set to retire, and I'll give credit to the Saints organization for enjoying the tone that Dad had set, and because he and I sound similar, and we sounded similar at the time, he was approached by the Saints organization with the idea of me taking his place when he stepped down from the mic. And he was all for it, and they were all for it. And then they said, Mark, you're going to take the mic. And so I started it in the regular season of 2013, and that's how it happened.
How do you prepare for a game? Take us behind the curtain.
Yeah, so we are presented the flip card, which is the roster for both teams. Obviously, the Saints, we know more information, but we get the opposing team flip card announcing the phonetics, the number, the position, and so forth, player personnel, and we start reviewing it and becoming comfortable with the names. That's the most important thing, the name to the position. And then the day of the game, we are usually in the stadium about 4 hours before. Now, my role doesn't begin until the game begins, but there's a whole team up there, including David Manning, Storm Manning, we call him, Storm Manning, who does the stadium announcing prior to the game beginning. So you'll hear his voice when the team comes out. He announces the national anthem, and he'll do some commercial break-ins throughout the game. Then I'm there for play-by-play, and we have a DJ as well. There is a script that is followed from as soon as those doors open all the way until the end of the game. And so they go through the entire script, basically, to ensure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And so that's why the entire team of the House Controls booth comes together about 4 hours before, because it's all about the fans and ensuring that they have the best experience in the stadium. And we're always ranked as a great fan experience by the fans.
When you're obviously pulling for the Saints in these games, when something goes wrong, is it ever hard to control yourself?
I am a Saints fan, and I can feel it on the inside. My face probably turns red, but I've got to maintain my professional neutrality to some degree. Now,
in some ways, it may help.
Yeah, and you've heard me punch the third down calls, which we're able to do as a hometown announcer, and I get excited about a touchdown or a first down. I'm not going to get that excited if another team makes those kind of points. But at the end of the day, I've got to be true to the role and be fair.
Now, how do things change for you this Sunday?
So this Sunday, I am actually going to enjoy the game.
Oh, you just get to sit back. Okay.
Yes, the NFL has a wonderful announcer, and those who can hear his voice over the television, or if they're in the stadium, they'll recognize his voice. And he has been doing it for several games. So I'll be listening to the real professional, and maybe getting some tips and pointers from him. But I'm looking forward to game day. The city comes alive even further. As you've walked around the city, things just really look good. And while there's streets that are closed and a little, patience here and there, it's been a great opportunity for us to see what we can do when we all come together.
So since you're not working in an official capacity, can I ask you for a pick?
Oh, I'm not going to do that. No, I would say the New Orleans Saints, of course. But between the Chiefs and the Eagles, a historic game. If the Chiefs should win, historic win. Three-peat. The Eagles, it's Saquon Barkley's birthday on Sunday. What a birthday present that would be for him and the Eagles. You've got two tremendous teams coming together, and I think we're fortunate for that.
Yeah, and if you look at it from an Eagles side, every time there has been a rematch in close proximity, I think Steelers-Cowboys in the 70s, 49ers-Bengals in the 80s, Cowboys-Bills in the 90s. We had Chiefs-49ers just in the last few years. The same team, it's always a sweep. So if the Eagles can pull this off, in a way, that will be history as well to kind of turn the tide.
And to do it at the Caesars Superdome, which has seen so many historic games. This is the 8th time the Dome has hosted a Super Bowl, which is a record. And as I said earlier, the 11th time as a city. I was at the 1970 game when Dad announced the Chiefs versus the Vikings. My brother and I were sitting with Dad in the house controls booth. At that time, it was attached to the upper deck of the West Side. So it was a very small booth, a lot different than what it was today.
They had heat in there, or were you?
It was cold. Yeah. It was a cold January day. They gave us some box lunches, and we were just, teenagers with my dad announcing the Super Bowl. It was like, we had died and gone to heaven. Yeah. Dad did the first 4 Super Bowls in New Orleans.
That's phenomenal, and I'm sure great memories for you too.
Yeah, for the whole family, actually.
All right, he's Mark Romig, the voice of the Superdome, also heavily involved with the host committee and with New Orleans and Company. So thanks for stopping by, Mark.
Thanks for being here, and we appreciate everything that y'all do to get the word out.
Absolutely, we're happy to be here.
Thank you.
All right, Saints Insider Podcast continues live right after this.
In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time we're talking Super Bowl week events with Nikki Yule, Director of Events for the NFL. There are a lot of opportunities to join in on the festivities for locals and visitors alike. From opening night to game day, Nikki is sharing how she and her team will make the game week experience unique to New Orleans. Check it out.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chinsi Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. First, we're going to talk to Seth Dodowski. He is the head of music for the NFL. As a singer and someone who has had the honor of singing the national anthem in the Superdome, I was so excited to hear how Seth and his team put on the iconic Super Bowl halftime show. What goes into it? How do they produce it in such a unique place of the Superdome? So here you're going to find out. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking all things Superdome. First, we'll chat with Steve Farrago, NFL Director of Event Operation, about how he and his team start work way ahead of time to make sure the Dome is game day ready on Super Bowl Sunday. Then, Evan Holmes, the GM of the Superdome, talks Dome renovations and takes me on the coolest escalator ride of my life. So, stay tuned in.
Welcome back to Radio Row Live here at Super Bowl 59. This is the Saints Insider Podcast. Zach Ewing now joined by Rod Walker and Jim Derry. Jim, we were talking about before Mark Roman came on, the betting line has tightened up in this game. We've got some Eagles money coming in.
Yeah, and, you know, we talked to Adam Chernoff yesterday, who is, in my mind, the lead handicapper on this planet. And he was talking, he didn't think it was going to change much. So I think that's probably a surprise to some people. But a little polling as I've walked around here, almost everyone I'm having a hard time finding anyone who's picking the Chiefs. I know there are people who are going to pick the Chiefs.
I kind of thought it was the other way around.
I think it's at least, of the people that I've spoken to, it's at least, and I'm being generous and nice when I say it's 80% Philadelphia. So whether that will affect my pick or not, I have no idea. I'll make my official pick Friday, but yeah, so I'm not surprised. If it was going to go one way or the other, I would think it was going to go towards Philadelphia. It may come back, who knows, because we'll see if the big money wants to go on Kansas City later.
I won't ask you to spoil it, but you do have to put in your pick for the special section today. So that's, you know.
Oh, I already put it in.
Okay. Rod,
I think some people are, I know you don't place bets based on your heart and all that, but I think people just
some people
are
do.
so adamant. I mean, they want to see the Chiefs lose so bad that they're like betting against them, which is probably not the way
I think you're absolutely right.
I feel, but isn't there another side of that where people are just like, all right, well, dang it, if I can't watch them lose, at least I've got to make some money. Nobody ever stops them. They're inevitable, blah, 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 blah. Like, I do think there's a little bit of that, too.
Well, you would think that, but I'm telling you, man, I think this Chiefs hatred is, I think it's really deep. It's deeper than we even thought it was, like, going into this week. At least for me, just people I've talked to.
I was thinking about picking the Eagles, and now I'm not so sure, because if everybody's picking them, that makes me think the Chiefs are going to.
And to Rod's point, I got to be honest, I don't know that I've ever seen, you sort of see it with the big name teams, like you see it with the Yankees sometimes. You'll see it with maybe the Lakers a little bit, but those are big time teams who had their own foul. You see it with the Cowboys, but they have their own followings and they don't care if people hate them. A smaller market team like the Chiefs, if you hate them, the only people that are going to like them are the core Chiefs fans, the people around there. So I don't know that I've ever seen anything like this. And it's just because sometimes people don't want to see things that, you know, Patrick Mahomes could do something that no one else has ever done. He's already done something that no one's done and going to 3 straight Super Bowls. He can now win 3 straight Super Bowls, win 8 straight playoff games. I mean,
he's the first one ever to win 2 and go back. Jim Kelly went to 4 straight, but he didn't win.
That's right. So a chance to win 3 in a row. I mean, it's just people do get tired of it. I mean, because they're winning. I don't think back then when what he's talking about, what Zach's talking about with the Bills, people weren't getting tired of the Bills because they kept losing. If they had won 4 in a row, they would have got tired.
You started kind of wanting to win.
Exactly. You almost thought that terrible for them.
Yeah.
Well, and like, there's nothing. Rod, you wrote a column about this. Has it published online yet? I'm not sure. I don't think it has. But Rod's got a column in the special section. It'll be online on NOLA.com here soon about this exact topic and why people hate the Chiefs so much. And it's really pretty simple. I don't think any of their players are really unlikable. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is not an unlikable guy. Travis Kelce, like, you may get some people who hate Taylor Swift just because she's popular and it kind of gets thrown.
Which
in
is
your
the
face.
same thing. They hate her because she's popular.
Because she's popular,
doing well.
Successful. But it really boils down to they hate us because they ain't us. Like that's all it is. They win.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And I mean, we've seen it just, and we've seen it in a lot of places. I mean, I know when LeBron was kind of really rolling, people kind of wanted to see him lose.
Absolutely.
Tom Brady's the perfect example of it, I guess. They were winning. And obviously they had some other stuff. I mean, the Deflategate and stuff like that just kind of fused it even more, But and then with the Chiefs, the thing is, people think that they're getting calls, and I don't know if it's.
Well, it's almost like they're making stuff
You're right,
up,
you
right?
make-
Because,
right.
because Patrick Mahomes is like so squeaky clean. You can't find, with Tom Brady, like you were talking about with the Deflategate, and he had this presence. LeBron has this just presence. Mahomes is kind of like more laid back and just this clean. You can't find anything on Mahomes. So what do you find? You find, the refs are cheating. They hate it.
He does some of the slide a little bit late.
Well,
that's before he goes out
no
of
one
bounds.
talked about any of that until about a month or two ago.
But okay, and the other thing is, that's something the NFL needs to legislate out.
I
And if
agree.
they don't, Patrick Mahomes is just doing within the rules what's allowed to
completely agree.
Help himself win. And I get that that's annoying if you're rooting for the other team or you pick the other team, but it's not like he's doing anything wrong necessarily. It's a little, it's maybe a little underhanded, but it's not like he does it all the time either.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as when you talk about basketball and you talk about LeBron, quote unquote, flop. I mean, you perceive to see whatever you want to see, whether he's really doing that or whether he's not doing it. It happens in soccer all the time. I mean, so when you quote unquote, hate someone, and not really hate him, or whatever, you try to find things that make it easier for you to dislike the person.
Yeah.
And again, here we are with Mahomes. What are you going to find on Mahomes? I mean, the dude's the greatest player on the planet right now. Some could argue that he's the greatest player ever. I mean, that's coming up soon. That argument's coming up soon. But what can you find on him? And you're finding, he gets the calls. He's sliding late. He's doing whatever. And is that the best you can do? I mean, the dude's just good. Just give it to him. So, but I agree with you. I think that you're just tired of Kansas City.
I think as journalists, we tend to watch the games more objectively.
Correct.
So we're looking at that stuff. We're like, it really wasn't that bad. But you look on social media and you think it was like the worst call ever. So, yeah, that kind of comes with it. So,
and statistically, I don't know who to credit for this. I saw it on Twitter a couple days ago, but it was like the Chiefs were like 9th in the league in roughing the passer calls this year. I mean, it was high, but it wasn't crazy high. But they were also one of the top 5 teams in being called for offensive holding. So it's like
they actually led the league in holding, I think.
But overall, the Chiefs, and I had a chart on this, but the Chiefs, I believe that they have the second least amount of penalties called on the opposition. So it's kind of overblown that they're getting all these quote unquote calls, because the teams that are playing them, it's the second least amount of penalties called on the opposition. So it's just in the minds of people, and they can hate them all they want and make up whatever they want. And the NFL hates them. It's absurd to think that they would be outward and then keep doing it is even more funny. We just don't care.
But even like when we covered the Saints and we're at a game, we're watching it, we see a call, and the fans are like just losing their minds about the call, and those things tend to even out over the course of a game.
Right.
And the fans never acknowledge the calls that were in their favor that were probably bad calls too. So, I mean, it's just
there were calls in the Bills games. I thought there were a couple of phantom calls that didn't get called against the Bills later in the game, and so, but no one sees those. They only
everybody's
see the
blinded by their own fandom.
Correct.
So.
I always laugh at the people who say it's scripted too. Like if there's a script, go figure out the script and you'll make millions of dollars.
Well, that's
man.
what there are so many online people are talking about this, and I'm like, if you're so sure the NFL is going to cheat, and I said this on a show I think last week, then go make a ton of money. If you're that sure they're going to cheat, then why aren't you making money? You're just ticked off because you keep betting against God and you keep losing, and you don't learn your lesson. Why don't you go bang your head against a brick wall? It's the same kind of thing.
Okay, and I think that's part of it. And this was true with Brady and the Patriots as well.
Absolutely.
The way that they win, they're not beating teams by 30 and 40 points. Now, the Chiefs were that first Super Bowl season, but they're not doing that anymore. And so you look at it and you go, well, statistically, they just kind of keep getting away with stuff. And they did this year. Look at some of the games they won. They blocked the field goal against Denver. They had the
Thank you.
They had
won my knockout pool.
The Raiders fumbled a snap late in the game when it looked like they were going to win. Can't remember who the Chiefs were playing when they doinked in a field goal to win. You go back to the beginning of the season, Isaiah Likely's toe was out of bounds by
first
a
game.
centimeter. Yeah, the very first game of the year. They got away with some stuff. Yeah. But in the playoffs, especially over the last few years, they just find a way to win. And that's part of it too, is that people keep thinking this is the time that they're going to lose.
But all those things
this is the time.
All those things you talked about though, they were like real things. They really happened. I mean, Isaiah Likely's toe really was out of bounds. The missed field goal in the Denver game at the last second, a 35-yard field goal.
I'm just saying they have been lucky for those things to happen at the right moment for them. Talking about this specific regular season. Yeah. But then they get into the playoffs and they find another gear. So
But Rod, if you go back and think about the Saints in 2009 and the breaks they had along the way in the regular season, you know, the Meacham play against Washington, against Miami, the breaks go their way. They're down 17. They come back. All these games that they probably could have lost along the way. And then even to get the break in the NFC Championship game, and Vikings fans are still convinced that was El Cheeto, you know. So I mean,
good teams. You got to catch breaks.
They make their own breaks.
Yeah. You got to avoid injuries. I mean, it's all the stuff that you know has to happen for you to be successful. And good teams find ways to win. Bad teams, as the Saints found out this year, find ways to lose.
That's I do.
So you got to make all these plays that lead up to that one play too. All those plays factor into it. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's my point. It's like, has there been some luck? Yes. Is there, in order to three-peat in the NFL, you have to have some luck. Like there has to be some bounces that go your way. You talk about injuries, like they haven't had major injuries during this run. Like, I mean, yeah, there has to be some luck, but there also has to be a whole lot of other stuff that you controlled.
Yeah, and when you look at the Eagles, when you're talking about this game and trying to break it down, I mean, the Eagles have had quite a few injuries here the last couple months, but they just keep on trucking on. As long as they don't lose number 26, I think they're going to be in just about any game. Even when Jalen Hurts got hurt in the divisional round game, the Eagles kept doing their thing because Saquon was doing his thing. So, I mean, that's going to be an interesting matchup. And you know what? You and I have talked about this before. You know, how is Spagnuolo going to defend when he doesn't necessarily know where the ball goes between Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley? And that to me, that's the most intriguing matchup of this entire Super Bowl is Steve Spagnuolo's mind against Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley.
And Kellen Moore's mind, by the way.
And wow,
if he could come up with a wrinkle in there, I mean, that's going to be.
What happens if he looks bad? Really, by the way, what happens? And I don't think this is going to happen. But what happens if the Eagles only score like 10 points?
It won't matter. I mean, it's like Aaron Glenn. I mean, him and Ben Johnson both kind of sunk it up.
Well, it won't matter for the Saints' perspective, but will it matter with the fans' perspective?
No, I think it'll be some concern it'll be some concern.
Everything that goes wrong with the Saints is a cause for concern right now because there has been a lot going wrong. So
I can tell you who will be complaining about that if that happens, because it'll be, here we go again. It'll be like Gannon 2.0. It'll be like, you see, Kellen Moore is simply focused on nothing but taking the Saints job. He's not focused on the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, as we continue our discussion here of Super Bowl 59 coming up Sunday, we are live from Radio Row with the Saints Insider. Take a quick break here and be back right after this.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chinsi Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Saints Insider Podcast, live from Radio Row, Super Bowl 59. Pleased to be joined now by President and CEO of New Orleans & Company, Walt Leger. Walt, thanks for being here.
Awesome to be with you. This is exciting. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've been counting down to this week for a long time, and I know you all have too. How has the week been for you so far?
It's spectacular. There's so much energy in the city. All the work, like you said, all the work that went into it, now getting a chance for it to start paying off and welcoming people. You know, people are arriving now, guests into the airport and all over the city and really spreading out and starting to have that impact that touches so many businesses. So I think it's just thrilling. It's great. Really, really exciting.
And you talk to people throughout the week, whether they're from Philadelphia or Kansas City or elsewhere, and if they haven't been to a New Orleans Super Bowl before, they are experiencing it and saying, man, this is what it's all about. And New Orleans and Company's right in the middle of that.
Well, yeah, our team has been putting in long hours and trying to prepare the city in every way possible with so many other people and great partners at the Sports Foundation and throughout the community. But yeah, it's actually kind of interesting to have the Chiefs here for their third consecutive opportunity because they have seen those other cities and they have experienced those other cities. And now they're getting to compare and contrast and feel like we hold up pretty good. And from what we're hearing, they're really enjoying it. And it's exciting to be able to get that comparison. You know, these teams met just a couple of years ago and here they are again tangling in the next couple of days. So I think it gives it a little something special though to have teams who have been here recently in the Super Bowl and now are here in New Orleans to experience our version. And I think it's gonna compare really well.
Yeah, if you get a little competitive about it, and I don't know if you do or not,
I do.
But here you have these players and these coaches and staff members and things who can make that direct comparison.
That's what it's all about to me. This whole thing that makes it interesting, what our team does is we compete every day with every other city for every event that we can get and bring here to our community. And the Super Bowl gives us a chance to actually kind of get some attention on that. You know, there's not so much attention paid to us beating another city when it comes to a medical conference or an educational conference, although those are massive economic drivers for the city. But something like this where you're really out there competing and in the spotlight, I know our team thrives on that competition. We want to beat every other city. We want every major event to come to our city and show off our community and our businesses and our people and our talent and all of that. And this gives us a chance to really celebrate it. And it means a lot to our team. It's a pickup.
Yeah. Speaking of economic impact, what are we looking at for this week for the Super Bowl, and how does that compare to previous times that has come here?
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking about the fact that in 2013 it was about a $450 million impact, and we think we're going to exceed that. I think it's clear that we're going to exceed that. But the event has grown so much. You know, I mean, there are 2,000 or more events happening throughout the city around the Super Bowl, and so we know that it's well over $500 million of impact in just a week's time. Hotel rooms throughout the region are filled. Restaurants throughout the region are filled, and the impact's going to be huge. We're expecting 200,000 or so people to kind of funnel through in the next couple of days. Wow. A bunch will be here in the convention center enjoying the NFL experience next door, which kicks off later today, right? Yeah. And so the next few days will be great for that. And to me, that's a really special chance for people in the region to really experience Super Bowl. If you couldn't make it to opening night the other night in the Dome, this is the next best, most accessible event for people to be able to get in here and kids to be able to throw passes and kick field goals and meet players and see trophies and just get into it. And of course, maybe catch some merchandise and some other stuff too, but it's going to be a really cool event. So I hope people will get down and see it.
Yeah. Take us behind the curtain, something cool that your team has done that maybe people wouldn't notice or that is new for this year's Super Bowl.
Look, the parade is new. Parade's huge and new, and that's going to be really exciting. And I think bring some extra flavor to this. The event last night, the media event last night was, an elevated version of what we've been able to do in the past from the standpoint of, really putting on a show around New Orleans and Louisiana culture so that you got the full flavor of how unique this whole state is, not just the city. That was a really special event. I think NFL Honors is going to be a whole new level on Thursday night at the Sanger. That was an event back then, but it's really become a showcase, and New Orleans is going to show up really well on that night as well. And then there are all the little things. I mean, the working with every hotel throughout the whole region to kind of engage them, get the teams fired up, and make sure that the hospitality is on point, because those things really matter. When you've got media and also sponsors and NFL and all these folks who are in hotels throughout the community all over the region, you really want those hotels to perform at the highest level, because folks are coming in and spending a tremendous amount of money on tickets to this event, record levels, and they expect things to be a certain way, and we want to make sure that they get that kind of experience, and so far so good. That's what's happening. I think people of the city are really welcoming and excited to have people and really excited to welcome the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you probably don't want to take sides. We won't have you make a pick for Sunday, but what's the key to the game that you'll be watching as we get in?
To me, it's Saquon Barkley. You know, I mean, I'm not going to pick sides, but I will say that he was a key player on my fantasy football team this year. He brought me to the title in my league, and so I feel like I owe him. So I am pulling for Saquon to have a really good day. He's been incredible this year. Honestly, to me, he's the difference maker in the game. It kind of depends if Kansas City can control him in any kind of way and limit his explosiveness, then they'll probably win the game. And if not, then I think the Eagles are in pretty good shape. I think it's going to be a great game.
All right. He's Walt Leger, President and CEO of New Orleans & Company. Thanks for stopping by, Walt.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Great to see you.
Absolutely. We'll be right back on Radio Row as we roll on here with the Saints Insider Podcast.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking all things Superdome. First, we'll chat with Steve Farrago, NFL Director of Event Operation, about how he and his team start work way ahead of time to make sure the Dome is game day ready on Super Bowl Sunday. Then, Evan Holmes, the GM of the Superdome, talks dome renovations and takes me on the coolest escalator ride of my life. So, stay tuned in. Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chinsi Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started. Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chinsi Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Radio Row, live from Super Bowl 59. Zach Ewing joining you here. I got to say, this place was busy the last couple of days. It is at a whole other level today. We had Dak Prescott back here, as Walt Leger was saying. We had Jaden Daniels walking by earlier with a whole entourage behind him. Think about how crazy that would have been if Jaden Daniels and the Commanders had made this game like they were just one victory away from doing. But yeah, it is a whole nother level here in Radio Row today, and I think that's going to continue to grow tomorrow. Friday, we'll see. It may slow down a little bit as people start to get ready for the game and some of the radio stations pack up and roll out. But yeah, today and tomorrow are the peak days here for Radio Row at Super Bowl 59. I think we may be getting Michael Lewis, the beer man, in here pretty soon. Rod Walker may have gone to go track him down, and we're going to keep rolling. So one thing I've been doing kind of in these little breaks today is going back through historic New Orleans Super Bowls. Here's a trivia question for you. What did the first 4 Super Bowls at the Superdome have in common? Rod, I'm going to ask Rod because Rod's here. Rod, the first, so take out the ones at the Sugar Bowl at Tulane, the first 3. So Super Bowls 12, 15, 20, and 24. Statistically speaking, what did they all have in common?
Have in common.
I'm putting you on the spot. I realize this. You just sat down and I asked you this, but it's one of these things as you start to go through that you realize it has to do with the losing team. There's your hint.
The losing team was.
If anybody knows, but
the
in the comments.
losing team was leading going into the fourth quarter.
No, definitely not. We had a 46-10 and a 55-10
that's right.
in there.
That's right.
Although the funny thing is, Super Bowl 20, the Patriots had a 3-0 lead.
They all were leading at halftime. The
No,
winning team.
They were not.
The winning team scored first.
No,
I mean, the losing
Patriots-
team scored first.
I don't think that's true.
I
But the
give up.
answer is, all 4 losing teams in those first 4 Super Bowls scored exactly 10 points.
Wow. Okay.
Just one of those anomalies. But in fact, the first 2 in the Superdome, which was Super Bowl 12, Cowboys over Broncos, and then 15 was Raiders over Eagles. They were the same score. They were 27-10. And then the Bears beat the Patriots 46-10 Super Bowl 20, and the 49ers beat the Broncos 55-10 in Super Bowl 24.
Well, you could have given me 110 guesses, and I wouldn't have gotten
that.
that.
One of those weird anomalies. And then of course you had the 2 of the only. There's been a few. There's been like 5 kickoff returns in Super Bowl history for touchdowns. 2 of them were in New Orleans. You had Desmond Howard in Super Bowl 31, and then Jacoby Jones, Super Bowl 47 here. So yeah, kind of interesting. The longest touchdown in Super Bowl history was Antonio Freeman, 81 yards. The guy knows something about long touchdowns.
Kickoff returns. And
Yeah. Michael Lewis, former NFL wide receiver, the beer man. I don't know if you like being introduced like that or not.
I love being introduced like that. That's the best way to be introduced. I mean, the name sticks with me.
That's right.
Don't when you go to the football game and stuff, what the first thing people go do? Hot dogs and what?
I gotta have a beer. I gotta have a beer, man.
Okay, so why not want to walk around with the title, the beer man?
They used to serve them in the press
You
box.
know
They don't
why?
do that
You know
anymore.
why, though, right? They call me the beer man.
I do know why.
Because I deliver.
What was what was okay? So you're delivering beer. Take me back. Tell me a story about those days that not a lot of people know about. The
That they
beer
don't
delivery.
know about
Yeah.
before I even got to the Saints or whatever. So I used to live in Jefferson Parish, right? So I used to drive all the way to Baton Rouge every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, leave and go. I used to make all my deliveries because I started out there first before I came back to Southern Eagle.
What time were we talking about? What time you had to start the route?
I would start my route at 5:15 in the morning.
Okay.
So I would leave the facility at 5:15.
It's dark outside. Yeah.
Start my route. So I already have to get up at 4 to get to Baton Rouge for 5. Then I check my truck and I get on the road and I go. I would deliver, get finished, go to football practice. I was playing arena football in Baton Rouge then with the So do that, come home after practice, come back home, eat and everything, take a quick nap because it wasn't sleep, get up and do this over and over, except for Thursday. So Thursday I would leave out at 5:15 in the morning. I wouldn't bag up that truck until 10 o'clock that night.
You got to have some serious belief in yourself to keep doing that.
Of course. I mean, I love the sport. I wasn't looking, and it was so crazy because what people really don't know is I wasn't looking to try to make it to the NFL. Like I really was trying to get to the Arena 1 because that's what I was playing. I wanted to play about 5 years in Arena 1, and then I wanted to buy 18-wheel and start my own trucking company. That was my goal. But God always have a different plan than you, and so I guess he laughed at my goal like, son, you're thinking too small.
You're not shooting high enough. Yeah.
So when I did get that opportunity to play arena ball, and I played on national TV, and I worked out in Jacksonville. I worked out for the Jets, the Giants, and then I went to Philly and worked out for Philly. And Andy Reid and them gave me my first opportunity. So that's why I started at the training camp in Philadelphia.
I cheated, by the way. It's Louisiana Bayou Beast. I cheated.
Yes.
I got Wikipedia.
Yeah,
up
baby, hey, man, that was the first professional team to win a championship in the state of Louisiana. Y'all don't know.
I'm going to
that.
guess it had to be the Bayou Beast.
Yeah, of course, 15-1.
Cheated again. 15-1. And that, You talking go ahead. Rob.
I was going to ask, like, when you're just out about in New Orleans, like, how often do you hear Beer Man? Like, do you just hear it all the time, every time? And people probably don't even know your real name.
No. You ready for this? People don't know my real name.
Right.
I was about to ask.
They would be like, Beer Man. Wait, what's your name? I say, Mike, that's it. So, I mean, the name stuff, why not? I mean, that's how I got there, you know. So what it does is keep me grounded because I had a real job. So when people look at you, it's like, this guy used to drive a beer truck. He had a 9 to 5 like everybody else. And he took that there and he kept on working and busting his butt till he got to where he's at, you know. And then not just, and my whole thing was I didn't want to be a fly-by-night story. You know, everybody go over there, like I said, you know, like the movie Invincible, you know. I wanted to do a little bit more. Like I wanted to really make a mark because I can get the opportunity to go back and talk to the kids and have these, you know, type of thing that goes on. Like that was like my biggest goal was not be a fly-by-night story. And I got that opportunity with the New Orleans Saints and, you know, set NFL records that still stands today and things like that there. So, you know, when you see people or whatever, like I just saw Coach Payton and I was talking to him up there or whatever. He was telling one of the people about the story, you know, it's like this guy drove a beer truck, didn't go to college, you know what I'm saying? Yep. And like how he be expressing it. So, you know, it's just make you feel good about, you know, the work that I put in, you know, to get there.
You talk about Andy Reid giving you your first NFL opportunity.
Yes. If I can tell you the guys that was there. So say Andy Reid, right? So then you have John Harbaugh was a special team coach, right? So the guy that actually brought me in for the workout was Sean McDermott. So you're talking about 3 NFL coaches that I had when I went to Philadelphia for my first, they brought me in the training camp that year and they released me after training camp, but I had a chance to have some type of work under those guys and just to see them doing what they're doing, you know what I'm saying? It makes you feel good about it.
Absolutely. And to see Andy Reid still in the position he is and having the historic level of success that he has, does that surprise you knowing what you knew about him back then?
No, because of what he does and he's a player coach and he know how to take care of his players. It was so crazy. I used to tell people like his tour days was so different from what most tour days was. And I know when I came to New Orleans, our tour days was, it's full pass, 2 weeks, it's hitting this, that. His was that first practice, it's hitting so hard. The second practice, he was like, all right, I'm just going to give y'all special team stuff. So, you know, your body, so you don't beat your body up as well. But he know how to take care of his guys. And that's one thing I respected about him.
We had Curtis Johnson on earlier. What were some of y'all's early encounters like? He shared some stories now.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he tell you, man, who got into the first day I met him?
That's exactly what he told me.
Well, I'll tell you this here. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I say I love Coach CJ, like that's my guy. Not just because he did some things. I
don't know if they see you. Yeah.
Demar, call Vernon. That guy right there with the bald head. I'm sorry, y'all.
That's all right.
Vernon, look, the guy that's walking with the black sweater vest on.
This is Life in Radio Row.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, y'all.
Somebody, you better track him down.
He used to work for the Saints. So he was the community guy for the Saints back when I played. So that's what's like. And I don't see him because he moved and he left and he went some other places. So when I see him, I be wanting to, you know, just say, hey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, just to make sure everybody's doing well.
Your time with the Saints, you obviously had some real good seasons for him. When Sean Payton came in, season after Hurricane Katrina, I think you were coming off an injury.
Yes, I had tore my ACL. After week 2, I tore my ACL. So I was coming back off an ACL tear and I had just had meniscus surgery.
How does, for you personally and for the team, like coming off of such a rough stretch for that to end in the NFC Championship game, what an incredible season that was.
It was. But you know what's so great about that is that when Coach Payton came there, he had this aura about him. Like, you know, we're going to do something totally different. Like he changed the locker room. So the whole locker room had changed. Like, you know, we used to be in there, guys, you know, just hanging out or whatever. So he brought a whole different mentality there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this locker room, you're going to be in here a lot. So it's going to make it like home. This is going to become a family. This is going to be the things that needs to be done. So when he brought that to the table and showing guys, then you got guys like Drew Brees that's always up in there with us. And you know what I'm saying? So everybody, so that built like that family atmosphere. And him coming in there with the offense and the stuff that we had, adding the pieces to it with Reggie and all of those guys or whatever, you know. So just getting there, man, it was like so great. You know, that he came there and what he brought to the city just as well. Not just the NFC Championship game, which we would have went further, but also he changed the whole New Orleans Saints mentality of how we used to be. You know, we fought every year, but we used to get right there at that door for that playoff, and they used to close the door on us. You know what I'm saying? He was the type of person that, like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I do whatever I can do to make sure this team. And now you got people. At one time, you had people never wanting to come to New Orleans to play on the team. Now you had people trying to knock the door down just to come play for the organization. If it was 1 year, 5 years, they didn't care. They wanted to come to New Orleans.
Well, against that background, what do the Saints need in a new coach?
They need somebody that's going to force the team, like have the team to lead, like lead by example, like how Coach Payton was. Like, it's not about an individual. It's about the team above everything else. And that's what it's all about. It's about the team. That's what it stands. Team stands for together, everyone achieves more. So it got to be a team effort all the way around. So that's like the most important thing. With that.
Hey, Michael, you lived the dream.
Yes.
So kind of setting you up to talk about your foundation.
Appreciate it.
Can you just kind of let the people know about that?
Yeah, I'm launching my foundation. Today is the launch of the foundation. Be at Jam Nola from 2 to 6. You know, I'm doing a gathering later on that night as well. But just to give back, man, because like I said, without the community and the people that have your back and to do the things that you got to do for the community, and it's not just about, like I said, like New Orleans. Like, think about the outreach that the New Orleans Saints has. It's not just about the New Orleans area. It's the whole Gulf South region. I'm talking about as far as Pensacola, Florida, Mobile, Biloxi, all of those things, and go all the way past Lake Charles and everything else. So that's how it's supposed to be. So, you know, the community is the thing that raised me and got me to where I'm at. And when I look back, is that I always say, you know, I got here the way that I got there, but I got to give back to the community and let these kids and everybody know that, you know what, I ain't got here and just walked off. Like I said, I do a lot for the organization that's fair. When I played and as I retired, to be about the community. Now with my foundation, I can do even more, because now I can even branch out with these kids further than that, you know, not just about sports. And that's one of the things, you know, want to be about sports. Education is another most important thing, but also get them outside of the area that they grew up at and show them that, you know, life ain't just about your area. Like, we want to do things that's going to broaden their life outside, and take them to places that they never would have went if they just stay in the area. Like, you know, different things, give them things that they would never do. Like, I ain't never went camping before. You know what I'm saying? So those are the things that I want to give back. Like, have you ever been camping? You know, like, I went skiing, and first time I went skiing, I was a grown man. You know, I want to get these as young men and young kids to see those type of things, to experience, like, you know, this world is bigger than what you see when you walk outside your doors or whatever. So that's what I want to give back and put out there to those kids. And also, like I always did before, you know, you can reach out and touch me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to have my foot on the ground, like I always did, you know, go to the schools, talk to the teachers and talk to the kids, and always giving back. And that's the most important.
What a great cause. What a great cause. And if people want to get involved, they can go to Jam Nola today.
Yes,
That's over on
yes.
Royal Street between 2 and 6.
Yes,
So
sir.
He's Michael Lewis, the beer man, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And we'll take a quick break on Radio Row. We're going to wrap things up in a few minutes here on the Saints Insider Podcast, live from the Super Bowl.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chinsi Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, of how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Radio Row here at Super Bowl 59 from the New Orleans Convention Center. Zach Ewing wrapping things up on the Saints Insider Podcast. We might try to get another guest or two in. Let's see who we can possibly get. I mean, I've been telling you guys, as it gets busier throughout the week, you just never know who's going to stop by. We did have a great day today. We had Thomas Morstead on. We had the officers from the U.S. Marine Corps, including General Len Anderson, on to talk about the Marine Corps celebration as part of their 250th birthday on Super Bowl Sunday. Also talked to Curtis Johnson. We talked to the beer man, Michael Lewis, just now. We talked to Mark Romig. We talked to Eli over at the Children's Hospital. That was really cool. And we also talked to Walt Leggett from New Orleans and Company. So it has been a busy day, and we expect another one tomorrow. Just a reminder, probably go live between 9 and 9:30 tomorrow. I don't want to promise an exact time, but check the live stream. We'll have something up on NOLA.com. And also, if you look at the Saints at NOLA.com YouTube channel, it will tell you the time that we're planning on going live. And if we make adjustments, we will. But I can tell you, already slated to be on the show tomorrow, we have Hoosh Doucette, who is a New Orleans native and flag football elite of the elite, like going to be in the Olympics in a couple of years if all continues to go well for him, as flag football makes its debut at the Olympic Games in LA in 2028. We're going to have Deuce McAllister on. We're going to have A.J. Dillon and Josh Jacobs, the Packers running backs. They're going to be on. And we're going to have at 12:30 tomorrow the one and only Drew Brees on the show as well. And in between those times, like, look, you've seen how it is today. You don't know who's going to stop by. Lots of interesting conversations, some deeply football related, some not so deeply football related, but it should be a good show. We're going to hang out with you another 5-10 minutes here and see if we can't get anybody else. But after we're done, you can continue to tune in. We've got Jim Derry's Datitude podcast starting at 1 o'clock. Rod came back. Are we getting Caesar? He can get, okay. Yeah, we stay on another 15 minutes or so. Yeah, we can do that. We'll stay on another 15 minutes. And Cesar Ruiz, Saints guard, offensive lineman, he should be here as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. Get his opinion on how things are going with the coaching search and with the Saints going into next season. So stay tuned for that. We'll keep on rolling. I don't know where Jim went. We were having a gambling conversation with Jim, Rod. That's my thing, man. I was enjoying that. But yeah, seriously, just to follow up on our last segment, Michael the Beer Man Lewis, what a great story. Didn't go to college, grew up with nothing, just trying to support himself, delivering beer. Like he said, waking up in Baton Rouge at 4 a.m. to deliver beer in Jefferson Parish every morning, and then going back, catching a quick nap, and practicing with the Arena League team in Baton Rouge, the Bayou Beast. And then I didn't even ask him. He later played in NFL Europe. That was, I think, between his stints with the Eagles and the Saints, he went and played for the Rhine Fire of NFL Europe. I didn't even ask him about that. That was probably an experience too. But then he played with the Saints for 5 years. 49ers briefly. I told you I'm cheating. I'm looking at his Wikipedia page. And then finished it back up with the New Orleans Voodoo in 2009. So the Beer Man, appreciate him all the way from Grace King High School to where he is today, man. Inspiring story, and he's got his foundation starting. You can check that out over at Jam NOLA. He's probably headed over there shortly. That's from 2 to 6 today. And yeah, Super Bowl week started on Monday. It's really gearing up today. You got the Super Bowl experience is starting at 3 here at the convention center. That's at get my directions right. Is that the north end of the convention center? We're at the south end here. The north end is going to be the Super Bowl experience, which is like, if you don't have tickets to the game, which I know most people don't, check out the Super Bowl experience. It's like NFL theme park style. I would come today or tomorrow before it gets real busy on the weekend. My wife and kids are coming down Friday to check that out. It's like they got different little competitions, like an obstacle course, things you can do. You can like run the 40-yard dash. You can do the vertical leap, all that kind of stuff. Photo opportunities, autograph sessions. They got the most extensive Super Bowl shop in there if you want to go shopping for some Super Bowl merchandise. So I'd check that out, the NFL experience or Super Bowl experience. And that's starting up this afternoon. I think it goes 3 to 10 today and tomorrow and Friday. And then Saturday's all day. It's like 10 to 10. And then, of course, we got the Super Bowl parade coming Saturday morning at 10 a.m. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're live streaming that here on NOLA.com. Check that out. And full coverage of the game. We got a 34-page 34-page special section, one of the biggest special sections our newspaper has ever done, at least in sports, coming out for the Super Bowl. That's going to be, you can catch a copy around New Orleans, but it's also going to be in your Sunday newspaper. So I would be sure to check that out. Tell you what, we're going to take one more break, and hopefully when we come back, we will have Cesar Ruiz here in a few minutes, about 10 minutes from now, and we're going to wrap up the show with Saints offensive lineman Cesar Ruiz right after this.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time, we're talking about NFL Source, a program that gives local underrepresented businesses the opportunity to gain exposure to event-based procurement knowledge, network with potential clientele, and compete for contracts related to Super Bowl 59. First, we'll talk to Maisha Boyce, lead for NFL Source, about the local economic impact of the program. Next, we'll talk to Chinsi Mouton, Director of Community Engagement at the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and the Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about how they work to form and foster these partnerships. Finally, we'll talk to Nicole Hutchison, owner of Mosswood Events, about her experience being a part of NFL Source. Let's get started. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. First, we're going to talk to Seth Dodowski. He is the head of music for the NFL. As a singer and someone who has had the honor of singing the national anthem in the Superdome, I was so excited to hear how Seth and his team put on the iconic Super Bowl halftime show. What goes into it? How do they produce it in such a unique place of the Superdome? So here you're going to find out. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time we're talking all things Superdome. First, we'll chat with Steve Farrago, NFL Director of Event Operation, about how he and his team start work way ahead of time to make sure the Dome is game day ready on Super Bowl Sunday. Then, Evan Holmes, the GM of the Superdome, talks Dome renovations and takes me on the coolest escalator ride of my life. So, stay tuned in. Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This episode is all about the Super Bowl 59 Ambassador Program, presented by Chevron. Ambassadors are the volunteers who are responsible for the welcoming of hundreds of thousands of fans and visitors to New Orleans during Super Bowl week. First, we'll talk to Craig Forshag, Director of Sales for the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about what makes this ambassador program unique. Then, Leah Brown, Public Affairs Manager of Chevron's Gulf of Mexico Business Unit, tells us about their partnership on this program. Let's get started. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This episode is about the impact of Super Bowl 59 on the hospitality community here in New Orleans. Walt Leger, President and CEO of New Orleans & Company, will talk to us about how New Orleans is uniquely built to host Super Bowl 59. Then, Chef Dickie Brennan himself will share how his restaurant group is preparing for the influx of guests coming for Super Bowl 59. Stay tuned. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This time we're talking Super Bowl week events with Nikki Yule, Director of Events for the NFL. There are a lot of opportunities to join in on the festivities for locals and visitors alike. From opening night to game day, Nikki is sharing how she and her team will make the game week experience unique to New Orleans. Check it out.
At Oxner Health, we believe in community, serving our neighborhood with more than just exceptional care. With educational programs that train the next generation and open new doors and possibilities for the future. More programs that teach about the benefits of healthy food and nutrition. We believe in innovation with compassion to give more hope and create more smiles. Because at the core of every community is you. Oxner Health. Long live our community. Long live you.
Welcome back to Radio Row Live here at Super Bowl 59. Zach Ewing on the Saints Insider Podcast, rolling on this Wednesday. We have, what are we at? 2.5 hours. We just crossed the 2.5 hour mark. Appreciate you all hanging out with us as we continue to have guests in. We're having fun now. The first couple days, it got a little bit slow and we were just talking amongst ourselves. But today, baby, it is rolling through. Just saw Pac-Man Jones walk by. We had Dak Prescott walking by a little bit earlier. It's not everybody's going to stop by and talk to us. That's understandable. But we are hoping to get Cesar Ruiz here in a few minutes. Might get JT Gray of the Saints as well. And look, you just never know who may stop by today or tomorrow. We mentioned Deuce McAllister and Drew Brees going to be here tomorrow. Jim Derry's Datitude podcast comes on the air at 1, so we might roll right up pretty close to that here. We got a little less than an hour to go before that. Tomorrow, Jim is not going to be on, so we may just stay on, man. I don't know. I got a few other things I got to work on, but as long as we don't have to worry about that, it's gonna be fun. I just got an email saying Marcus Colston may be around tomorrow, former Saints receiver. We might be able to get him on. If we get Deuce McAllister, Marcus Colston, and Drew Brees on, that's the trifecta, man. That's pretty good. Saints 2000s era running back, wide receiver, quarterback. So I will take that. We'll see if we can get Marcus Colston on. I was talking to Robert, who's here helping produce, about some of the prop bets at the Super Bowl. And that's the only thing about the guesses. They interrupted our gambling discussion, which I know you're all here for our gambling tips. But I don't know. You can put in the comments your favorite prop bet to bet on. You don't have to make a pick. I'm not asking for what you're going to bet on. But if you could, would it be length of the national anthem, which I think is what it's down to like 2 minutes and 1 second now is what I saw for John Baptiste's national anthem. And as far as I understand, John Baptiste may play the piano for a while and everything. That time only counts from the minute he starts singing to the minute he stops singing. If he has instrumental before or after that, that does not count for the Super Bowl anthem prop. So you got to pay attention to that. So 2 minutes and 1 second is the prop for that. Then we have the Gatorade color. The Chiefs have gone with purple the last 2 years. So, like, if you're the Chiefs, do you not mess with a good thing and you just keep going purple Gatorade? Of course, at that point, they've already won it. So their first Super Bowl victory of this era back in 2020, that was orange Gatorade. So I don't know. I think those are probably your two favorites there, orange or purple. Or do you like what Kendrick Lamar's first song will be, what his last song will be, how many times they show Taylor Swift on TV? It's like six and a half, I think, is the line, like over under 6.5 times. You can also do total time over under, I think last year it was 55 seconds. I'm going to go under on that one. And I'll tell you why, because as I recall last year when the game went to overtime, they showed her 3 more times. So if the game doesn't go to overtime, you may 6.5 and 55 seconds. Those may be inflated lines. I'm telling you free value here. Brian says, Taylor Swift time shown, God help us if it's more. It's going to be more than one. It'll be more than one. You got a lot of non-football fans. My 14-year-old daughter will be very disappointed if they only show Taylor Swift one time. Yeah, and you can also, as Robert just mentioned, you can get you can also prop bets on what the first commercial will be. Like, will it be a beer commercial? Beer man, Michael Lewis. Will it be an insurance commercial? Will it be, I'm trying to think, will it be food? And then there's an other category. You can get odds on all that kind of stuff. The first commercial shown at the Super Bowl. By the way, the rate for a 30-second commercial has reached $8 million, we were saying $7 million a lot of the time, but now they're saying $8 million for a 30-second ad spot at the Super Bowl. But I don't know. I mean, it's got to be worth it. They keep paying for it, right? Like, it's got the eyeballs seen on those commercials are crazy. It's like unlike anything you've ever seen. So, if you ever wonder how much of a cultural touchstone the Super Bowl has become in this country and in this world, just, come to a Radio Row. Phenomenal today. Phenomenal. The amount of people walking around, the Q rating, the star power of the people walking around, and just the energy in this place right now. Phenomenal. So we'll see if we can get Cesar Ruiz to stop by. I think he's wrapping up another interview. It should just be another minute or two, and he'll come back. I know Rod Walker was also trying to track down JT Gray, also of the Saints, so we may get a chance to talk to those guys. But yeah, because it's just a lot of fun. A lot of Saints walking around. We had Cam Jordan walking around earlier. He may be up for Man of the Year tomorrow night at the NFL Honors. Haven't talked about that. We spend some time tomorrow, if we have time, talking about that too. Who's going to win the MVP? We find out tomorrow night. Speaking of betting, Josh Allen is the betting favorite, but those numbers are not as clear as they were a few weeks ago. Like, I think Lamar Jackson has a pretty good case at it as well. Only four interceptions. I think only 5 turnovers a whole year long. Obviously, we don't count playoffs in the MVP discussion, but we'll find out who wins the MVP. Offensive Player of the Year, that one's pretty easy. That's going to be Saquon Barkley. Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, new Hall of Fame class for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They'll be inducted in August before the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. But we are going to find out right here in New Orleans tomorrow night who is going into the Hall of Fame. You got a couple of New Orleans natives, Eli Manning and Reggie Wayne, who are finalists for that honor. I don't know if they'll get it this year or not, but we'll find out. We'll keep rolling. Start getting some messages in, making sure that we're not getting anybody else coming in here. But we are waiting on Cesar Ruiz, and just going to keep rolling. We're brought to you by Ochsner Health. They are the official medical provider of the New Orleans Super Bowl host committee. Our thanks to them. They are sponsoring us all week long. And I'm going to go through our confirmed guests for tomorrow one more time. At 9:30, we'll be on the air sometime between 9 and 9:30. Our first guest at 9:30 is flag football superstar Hoosh Doucette. He's looking forward to the LA Olympics, flag football making its debut at the LA Olympics in 2028. 10 o'clock, we got Deuce McAllister coming in, Saints radio color analyst, obviously Saints Hall of Fame running back, Saints legend, Mississippi native. We'll talk to Deuce. 10:50, I believe it is. Yeah, 10:50, we've got Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon of the Green Bay Packers. Their 2 running backs are going to stop by. 12:30, we have the one and only Drew Brees stopping by. And so that'll be a lot of fun. He's going to talk about his sponsorship with Crown Royal, and also we'll ask Deuce a few other things. What do you guys want us to ask Deuce? I mean, Drew, excuse me, Deuce or Drew. What do you want us to ask Drew? The man does a lot of interviews. We've talked to him already this week. We've got his Super Bowl pick, all that kind of stuff. So tell us what you want to ask Drew Brees. What do you wonder? Maybe he'll come back and coach the Saints. I'm sure somebody will say that we should ask him if he'll ever come back and coach. So yeah, we got a good guess. I mentioned Marcus Colston. We're going to try to nail down a time with him, and then we'll roll into a live show Friday as well. Things probably start to slow down Friday as people start to break down the sets in here, but we'll be with you live for a little while Friday morning as well, and then we'll be rolling right into the Super Bowl parade. That's a new thing. That's going to be live streamed right here on NOLA.com and the NOLA.com YouTube channel. That'll be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. rolling through Mardi Gras style, and we'll have that for you. And then Sunday, the game, man. Full coverage, NOLA.com/Super Bowl. Check it out. As I mentioned with Jeff earlier, he had 15,000 words, we estimated, written on the 10 historical New Orleans Super Bowls. All of those words, most of them, we may have to cut a little bit, but most of those words are going to be in that special section. Everything from how the games went to who was on at halftime to the celebrities that were hanging out in the French Quarter the week before the game to things that were said to famous moments. It's all in there. 10 Super Bowls here in New Orleans. They all have their own stories. They're all super interesting. Went through some of them today. Yeah, and that's all in there, as well as full coverage of the game, statistical breakdown of the Chiefs and the Eagles. We've got 12 of our different sports staff members, including myself, picking the game. We'll have all of our predictions in there. Locals in the Super Bowl, talk about Devontae Smith, the Amite City native. We got a feature on him. Justin Reed, the Prairieville native, Ascension Parish, playing for the Chiefs. Got a feature on him in there. Columns from the guys who have been stopping by all week, Rod Walker and Jeff Duncan. And, of course, list of past Super Bowls, list of past Super Bowl MVPs, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, man, we've got full coverage for you. You're in the right place. So we're going to keep rolling. We're going to take one more break here, see if we can get Cesar Ruiz to pop back in as we wrap things up on the Saints Insider Live on this Wednesday from Radio Row at Super Bowl 59.
Hey y'all, I'm Robin Barnes, the New Orleans Songbird, and we are here for the making of Super Bowl 59 at the beautiful Superdome. This will be the 11th Super Bowl in New Orleans. New Orleans is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and amazing music, if I do say so myself. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. This episode is all about the Super Bowl 59 Ambassador Program, presented by Chevron. Ambassadors are the volunteers who are responsible for the welcoming of hundreds of thousands of fans and visitors to New Orleans during Super Bowl week. First, we'll talk to Craig Forshag, Director of Sales for the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation and Super Bowl 59 Host Committee, about what makes this ambassador program unique. Then, Leah Brown, Public Affairs Manager of Chevron's Gulf of Mexico Business Unit, tells us about their partnership on this program. Let's get started. In this series, we're going to show you how the Super Bowl comes to life. First, we're going to talk to Seth Jadowski. He is the head of music for the NFL. As a singer and someone who has had the honor of singing the national anthem in the Superdome, I was so excited to hear how Seth and his team put on the iconic Super Bowl halftime show. What goes into it? How do they produce it in such a unique place of the Superdome? So here you're going to find out.
Welcome back to Radio Row Live here at Super Bowl 59. This is the Saints Insider Podcast. Look, I don't even know how to move on from this week, but we got a coaching search to cover too. So while I'm talking about all the things that we've got for you at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, Saints are going to hire a coach at some point. We think next week, whether it's, whether it's Kellen Moore, which is who we think it is, or not. But we're going to have full coverage of that too, and we're going to keep doing our regular Saints Insider podcasts, which are every Wednesday and Friday. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the new hire. Hopefully, be talking to the new hire, and hopefully for Kellen Moore's sake, he's getting fitted for a Super Bowl ring too. See if the Eagles can pull this off on Sunday. Otherwise, it will be history. It will be a three-peat for the Kansas City Chiefs. But speaking of the Saints, hoping to get Cesar Ruiz on the show here. I think he's just wrapped up another interview, so we're going to see if he can stop by for us here in a few minutes. And also speaking of the Saints, Robert keeps feeding me all this great stuff. Today is the 8-year anniversary. So go back 8 years. That's February of 2017. I'm just curious if anybody can tell me what that is the anniversary of. Leave it in the comments if you're watching. Let's see if anybody gets it. It's the 8-year anniversary of what? It is an NFL event. It is something of at least tangential interest to Saints fans. And I've got kind of a smile on my face, so it's not a bad thing for the Saints. I know there's some of those anniversaries that have passed too, with the no call and the Minneapolis Miracle. And none of that. We're going back 8 years before all of that. What is today the 8-year anniversary of? February 5th, 2017. I'll give you the answer here in a minute if nobody makes a guess. Would it help if I told you that in 20 years it'll be the 28-year anniversary of this event, and 5 years ago it was the 3-year anniversary of this event? Would that help if I told you that? Okay, nobody's a guess. I don't want to kill too much time, but that's right. 28-3, the Falcons led Super Bowl 51 8 years ago today, February the 5th. And then what happened? Patriots came back talking about everybody hating the Chiefs and hating the Patriots and stuff. Saints fans didn't hate the Patriots that day, man. That was something that they love to see. Patriots come back, force overtime in that game, and win 34-28 in overtime. It was the first Super Bowl ever to go to overtime. It took 51 years, but the Super Bowl does go to overtime there in Houston. I believe that one was 34-28. And then we had it go to overtime again last year. So now twice in 58 years, Chiefs and 49ers went to overtime last year. And wouldn't you know it, but the two quarterbacks and two coaching staffs and two teams that have been the best at just kind of finding a way to win close games in this century, the New England Patriots with Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and now the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they were the two teams that found a way to win those overtime games. Super Bowl 51 and then last year Super Bowl 58 out in Las Vegas. So those were the winners, man, and that's how it goes. Saints have had some close calls in that time as well, but haven't been back in the 15 years since Ambush. Trying to figure out if we can get Cesar Ruiz as we continue to keep rolling. Let's see if Jim Derry will come on for a minute. He just finished eating something, so maybe he's wandering through the crowd here and making his way to us. We're gonna chat with Jim Derry for a few minutes while we wait for Cesar Ruiz. Jim, you're gonna help fill some time while we wait for Cesar here. Okay. It's quite a scene out there, man.
It is, man. I'm trying to secure guests, although I have plenty already. We're gonna just got to think our final guest. Red Bean's gonna come on. If you're from New Orleans and we're talking about the Monday Red Bean man, Devin Snow, who was on our 200th episode. He has his own podcast. It's a great show, as long as you don't mind a little few bad words. But we'll try to keep it clean here on our show. But he's going to wrap up our guest list. We have 6 guests today, so we'll see how we can get him in and out.
I don't even remember how many guests we've had. It has been a whirlwind, but that's Wednesday at Radio Row, man. It's a scene.
It really is. And we talked about, I came Monday, we were all here Monday, and I'm like, okay, this is no big deal. And then yesterday it picked up, and I'm like, wow, there's about 3 times as many people here as Monday. And now it's a blitz, man. Everybody's here today. And Diana Rossini's right there. I just saw Jaden Daniels a little while ago. And
Dak Prescott walked right by our booth a second ago, or about an hour ago.
A lot of Saints, and I know you've had some people on here. So it's a lot different today than it has been the last couple of days, for sure.
Yeah, there's just no doubt about it. We were talking prop bets. I always bring this back to gambling if I can.
Yeah, every time I show, I'm like King Degenerate.
I know you're a traditional betting guy.
Yeah.
Side total, you get into some player props and those sorts of things. Is there a novelty prop near and dear to your heart for the Super Bowl? What do you like?
All right,
national anthem, Gatorade color, that kind of stuff.
If I'm a trends guy, and I haven't looked yet, and I can't remember what it was last year, but I know I have it in my computer. I'm gonna go look back. There is one novelty prop that I do like to bet, and it's heads or tails. And I've won the last 3 or 4 times I've bet it, so it is kind of
blows my mind.
It is, and I know because it's against everything that I stand for. But I do have the trends list, and I don't remember what it is, so I have to go look. But I've kind of followed trends, and me and Uncle Big Nick usually get on the same side, and then we go with it, and we've done pretty well with it. So maybe I'll talk about it on Friday's show. We'll see.
Yeah, man. I need
no Datitude tomorrow.
Coin toss bet. You'll be up or down below 0. You bet on the national anthem in the coin toss. You might have made all your money before
exactly. As soon as I talk about it, though, that means that I'll lose it probably. But there's no science. I mean, I'm not going to be silly and tell you there's a science, but you know how much I like trends, and you're like, well, some trends don't make sense. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. They're still trends if they happen 8 times in a row. It's like a roulette wheel. If you're watching and it's black 3 times in a row, I'm going to bet black till it's not black anymore. Or vice versa, red or whatever.
There's no statistical basis in this, but boy, there it feels good when it works.
Sure, it does. I like to be on the side of winners.
I only recently found this out. which you'd think I would know. But apparently a coin toss is not exactly 50-50
It's not.
if you're using a regular American quarter, right? Because the sides are weighted just ever so slightly to where heads will land like 50.7% of the time.
That's actually
it's not exactly
correct, and I don't know which one it is. And I would imagine it's the same thing with the Super Bowl coin, because obviously they use a special commemorative coin there. Unless it's exactly the same thing on both sides, it's not possible that you can make it so it would be 50-50. I mean, if you flipped it 1,000 times, it would be complete circumstance if it would have happened 500-500.
Right. Now, of course, the Super Bowl coin's weighted differently. So I don't know. We'd have to like get a sneak peek at the coin and try to figure that out to see, get like 52-48 advantage on this thing.
There it is right there.
Robert's got
we
the
have the Super Bowl coin. So one side is the two logos, and the other side is the Super Bowl logo.
Can we show this? Like,
will they be able to see that?
I don't know if they'll be able to see it or not. I'm going to hold it up to the camera. Let's see.
But I'm just gonna say if you could see this on the screen, I would be willing to guess that the side that is the Super Bowl logo has more raised emboss.
It does look like that,
which means it's probably,
and that's tails, which means that will fall
zooming
first,
right in on your
and
eye.
that would
There
be
you go.
heads. Like my nose job. Yeah. All right, I think we got Cesar Ruiz here.
All
so
right,
let's bring on
I'll
Cesar.
jump up, and our show starts at 1:00.
Yeah.
We'll see you then.
We'll see Jim at 1. Successfully killed time for us. And now we're going to have, do we have, I think I see Caesar's shoes, like the size of my thighs. All right, here he is. Yeah. Yeah, sure. All right. Caesar's having fun. Have a seat, Caesar.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. What up?
How you doing? Yeah, all right. Cesar Ruiz, Saints starting guard, here with us, hanging out at Radio Row. What's going on today, man? How many interviews you done already?
Oh, I did a ton, man. I got some Nickelodeon stuff. I did stuff with PXG, golfing, and I'm trying to win some free gloves. I did a bunch of stuff, man. It's fun.
What do you got to do to win the glove?
You got it closest to the hole. Not winning. Trying to see if I can grease them for a discount code.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. How's the golf game? We asked Blake Groupie that the other day.
Golf is fun right now. Golf game is improving. It's getting really good. So I'm having fun with it right now.
All right, let's talk about the season a little bit. You had some injury struggles, like a lot of your teammates this year. When you look back on 2024, what do you take away as you move forward here?
Yeah, I think 2024. I think one thing we learned from 2024 is that it made all of us become closer to each other.
Okay.
You go through all that. What's going on throughout the season. Things aren't going your way, but the people you have to lean on are the people in that locker room. So it made us extremely close. Put an emphasis on just that, just us, just being closer as a team.
Yeah, I mean, you hear it a lot from guys say, we're all we got, right? And that's true, especially in a locker room when things aren't going well. And it's kind of true right now where you're waiting on who's going to lead you guys next year. What has that process been like for you as you just kind of wait with the rest of us?
I just wait. I'm just waiting, man. It's not something I'm really thinking about too much. I find out from the media like everybody else, like, hey, what's going on? I have no idea. Y'all know I don't have Twitter, so I'm not really up to date. See some stuff on Instagram maybe, but yeah, I'm not really up to date with everything. But it's also like my time to decompress from football.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not, losing sleep over like, hey, who's gonna be my coach? Just let it happen, man. It's gonna happen. So control what I can control.
What was it like? Just as we go through kind of the candidates, the one is Darren Rizzi. How did he change things, and what was that like being coached by him the last 7 weeks of the season?
Riz is awesome, man. He his emphasis was to make sure that we were ready to play ball, and all he wanted to do was to make sure, like I said, was to make sure that we were ready to go. He said that's all he cares about is us. He's like, I want to make sure you guys are ready to play football on Sunday. You're prepared and your bodies are ready to go. That's my main focus.
Go ahead, right?
So you played both of these Super Bowl teams. Y'all played Chiefs and the Eagles. Just what are your thoughts about the matchup itself in those two teams?
Well, yeah, I didn't get to play against the Chiefs this year. I missed that game. Played against the Eagles, but obviously two of the best teams about to play against each other. So it should be a fun game to watch. I probably won't watch until the halftime show. That's really why you know, while I'm about to be locked in, I'm not really about to watch too much of this. This is my break from football. So, yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a good game. I might tune in here and there to see what's going on.
Break down the halftime show. Kendrick, if you could set up Kendrick Lamar's set, what songs is he doing and what is he opening with?
Let me see who's open. Everybody, the casuals are like, oh, he's going to open up with Not Like Us. And
I think
no,
he ends with that. But
he's not. I was like, this is not. I'm like, this is Kendrick Lamar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Will he perform it? That I don't know. But he has such a, what's the word? A catalog that's just, it's crazy for people to think that that's all he going to do. I'm trying to think. If he's bringing out SZA, I don't know. There's so many songs he could do, man. I don't know. There's a lot of songs he could do. It's all a matter of who he brings out. He already performed that. He already performed all right in LA, so he can't do that again.
Yeah, at the Grammys.
Yeah. I don't know. But there was one song I would love to see on there. It would be Money Trees, because I don't think I've ever seen him perform that song. And he's a great performer too, and Money Trees is one of my favorite songs from Good Kid, Mad City. So I would love to see that song to be performed, just because I just want to see him do it.
This is the analysis we need from this. We get the halftime show expert here.
I need people to understand that it's not going to be like Not Like Us, and no, it's not going to be just that. Like, that's a great song, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be a whole, like, this is Kendrick Lamar, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a lot. So it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, Caesar, I gotta ask you about Big Ten rivalries, because your Wolverines won the national title last year, and then you had to watch Ohio State do it this year. Is the Big Ten like passing the SEC? What's going on here?
I think that the truth is finally being shown that, you know, SEC is. You guys have been, you know, just hyping it up a little too much, and this Big Ten is just coming over here and just doing what we do. I mean, like, I don't have to say too much about it, but if you look at it, it's like, all right, Michigan has won national championship. Ohio State's won national championship. Who did Ohio State beat to win?
I was wondering if you're gonna get that in.
Yeah, who they beat to?
They beat. We had Blake Grupe's Fighting Irish on.
They're not even they're a good team. They're not even a conference. But think about it.
We
didn't
beat
even have an SEC team there.
That's
I
right.
mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got Michigan beating Alabama in the bowl game. You know what I'm saying? We beating the SEC standard in the bowl game. So I'm just saying, Big Ten ball, man.
Caesar, you're not gonna
next 13 out of 50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Caesar, you're not gonna bring up Michigan beating Ohio State.
Do I have to? I mean, it's like, shout out to Ohio State. I mean, they won the trophy national championship, but they didn't really win the one that mattered. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was trying to get you at. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Cesar Ruiz, we appreciate you stopping by, man. Good luck this offseason. Keep yourself healthy, and we'll see you, I guess, at Meat Camp.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
See you, man.
All right, he's Cesar Ruiz.
All right, man.
We're going to wrap things up here on the Saints Insider Podcast.
See y'all, man.
Live. We've been rolling here for 3 hours. So glad that you could be with us. We're brought to you by Ochsner Health. They are the official medical provider of the Super Bowl host committee here in New Orleans. He's Rod Walker, Robert Young, Amelia Cotton, Norman Bell have been on the other side of the table here today, and Rod Walker's been running. He's been on the show. He's been doing everything for us. Jim Derry stopped in. Jeff Duncan, I don't know what. Jeff Duncan stopped by for like 5 minutes and said, I'm out. I'm going to go find coffee and go be a celebrity along with all the other celebrities. But maybe we'll get him tomorrow. I do want to let you know tomorrow's show, just a reminder, just some guy named Drew Brees going to be on the show at 12:30 tomorrow. We're going to have Josh Jacobs, Packers running back. Deuce McAllister will be on the show. Hoosh Doucette, flag football. Try to get Marcus Colston. And who knows who else is going to show up. Be with us here. We're going to go live sometime between 9 and 9:30. Check the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the like button. All that good stuff. And we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning live from Radio Row. Thanks for being here and signing off.